Wonderful. And then, give me one sec. I should have done this first and then hit record, but okay.
I also should have asked this earlier, but do we have is Anna watching the chat? Is someone watching the chat?
Yes. So I'm going to go over all of that in our intro.
Okay.
Okay. So give me one sec. Why do I have so many windows open? This is ridiculous. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So, okay. Hi, everyone. We're going to get started. We had a lot of people register. I almost said it in the German word because I always do that on these. We had a limited amount of space. And then when I saw how many people were registering, I actually went and extended our space by a little bit. And yeah, we'll see what happens. I made it so nobody can talk except for Kirsten, Jenna, and I. And as we're critiquing people, of course, I'll allow the people to unmute who we're speaking with. So before we get started, I'm going to give us a little intro, just briefly. And actually, hold on. Let me do it like this. Hold on. So first, let me go over, here we go. Standard. Can everyone see that, or is it just showing up? You're going to have to answer, Kirsten or Jenna.
I can see it.
Okay, perfect. So just like a little quick reminder, this class we expect to take about 120 minutes, also known as 2 hours. We know people may need to like come and go and things like that. That's totally fine because we will be, anyone who registered will get a link to the replay of this tomorrow sometime. So you'll be able to watch it back. What we want to do is we want people to be able to ask questions throughout. So there's 2 ways to do this. One, if it's a question pertaining to exactly what we're talking about in that moment, and you feel like, oh, like, let's say we're critiquing someone's photo and you have something you want to chime in or in specific about that photo, you can use the little icon to raise your hand. There's at the bottom of your screen somewhere. There's a thing to raise your hand. I don't know where it is. Sorry, I can't find it myself. And we will try and, unmute you that way. Otherwise, the other thing you can do, if it's not something specific about that photo, if it's more of a general question or something that can be asked towards the end, you can add it to the chat. And any questions, we want you to put it in all caps because Anna Banana Gosado is going to be collecting the questions for us to be able to talk about them at the end. So you can utilize the chat throughout this, commenting on photos or, back and forth or whatever. But if you have a question, put it in all caps like you're yelling so that Anna can grab it and copy it to her document so that at the end of this, we can get to it. And the other option will be, of course, at the end, you can use your little hand raising icon and ask a question that way. So hopefully that.
Sarah just said that the hand raising thing is under reactions. Thanks for.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Okay, I don't know why I don't see reactions on my side. I'm not allowed to react.
It's next to the record button.
Oh, interesting. Okay, I'll have to find it. I have too many things going on my screen. So next up really quick, we're just going to go over here of what we plan to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about us, myself, Jenna, and Kirsten, and about NMFA. We'll explain that in a minute, just briefly. Then we're going to talk about artistic voice and your business. We all have a few thoughts on that as we get into it, because in particular, we're really excited to be giving some critique and feedback on images today, and something a little bit different we're doing kind of for the first time here is giving a voice image critique. So what that looks like is we've asked 3 photographers to submit to us 10 photos, and in one case they submitted 20, and we'll explain about that later. And we're going to be asking them questions about their artistic voice, their brand voice, all of those kinds of things, and what we're seeing in their portfolio versus what they're describing to us, as well as any little feedback that we can give them about improving their images or what we are adoring in their images and things like that. Then from there, we're going to move on to single image critique. We have 4 of those. And then we have 1 business/website critique or feedback where we're just gonna, we have 1 person who we're going to just chat with a little bit about their business, what their website is looking at like, and anything we can suggest to them or give praise about. And then lastly, we will talk about NMFA quickly again, talk about some bonuses, and then answer Q&A or do Q&A session. So yeah, that's that for now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and really quickly tell you a little bit about Jenna, Kirsten, and myself. I'm Ash Raddatz. I am the co-founder of Documentary Family Photographers, along with Anna Guasato, who is also somewhere on this chat or call, collecting everyone's questions. And these are my lovely co-teachers or co-mentors, Kirsten Lewis and Jenna Shouldice. Excuse me, hiccups. I get the hiccups every time. I think it's a nervous twitch. Anyways, we have been teaching together for, God, 3 years now. Is that right? Yeah, 3 years now.
Well, if you count COVID and the pandemic, we've been teaching for 148 years.
That's right. We've been teaching for 148 years together.
We are very
Same
good
30
for our
students for 100.
pandemic age.
That's right. In addition to teaching our course together, if anyone has little ones around, I don't know, make it quiet for a second, put this up really loud. Our year-long mentoring program, it's called No More Fucking Around, also known as NMFA. And it's a program where we are really getting deep into the minds of and into the work of students and their photography and their business and how they can grow, and not only grow, but actually make moves in their photography and their business. So it's not like this one quick band-aid solution. Glad to hear that, Kelly. Kelly,
Appropriate.
Yes. So it's not this band-aid solution. The idea behind NMFA is that, you know, you're actually making these really big strides forward, and we've really enjoyed doing that. So in the, how do we say that? Anyways, how do we say, like, in the something of transparency, in the, anyways,
The full disclosure of transparency? I don't know.
Anyway, I know what I'm thinking in my mind. It's just stuck back there somewhere. We are going to be doing this class because we like to, this free class, and we, you know, have done a few of these events in the past, but just so you know, at the very end of this, we're going to tell you a little bit about NMFA so that you can see, oh, in the interest of transparency. Thank you, Lauren. That's exactly what I was looking for. Yes, glad I have my translator, Lauren, on here. We will be talking quickly about NMFA and what that program looks like so that you can know what's available for you if you're wanting to put yourself back out there, especially after the pandemic. We know that a lot of people are ready to hit the ground running. And so we'll talk about that.
And stop fucking around.
Yeah, and we're going to stop fucking around. So I think that was it. That was on my little agenda here for introducing us. So let's talk quickly, ladies, Kirsten, Jenna, about artistic voice. So I'm gonna pretend I didn't even tell them that I was gonna do this, but I'm going to pretend.
Wait, can I just interject and be like, this is so funny. You were like, we're going to introduce ourselves first. I'm Ash. Okay, let's talk about it.
What can I say? I'm just trying to move this thing on.
That's all you need to know. This is Ash.
We're 14 minutes in. Sorry, I meant I'm going to introduce them. Did you ladies want to introduce yourself?
No,
No,
I don't.
it's the worst part of every gathering.
In my brain, like, its capacity these days is very limited. So in my brain, all it was, hi, I'm Ash. Okay, let's move on.
I was when my brain also went like, wait, what's your biography? I had to start thinking like, what are you going to say that's interesting? You know?
Well, see, I made it easy for both of you.
Yes, you did.
Done.
See, thank me later.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just joking. Well, I figure also everybody kind of knows you. I don't know. And I just wanted to introduce us as a team.
I love it. Moving on. Okay, let's talk about
Go
voice.
team. Okay, so let's talk about voice. And like I was saying before someone interrupted me, that basically I didn't tell you ladies that I was going to do this, but I want to hear each of your perspectives on well, a couple things. One, what you see in the industry in terms of photographic voice, whether that be here in the documentary genre or as a whole, it's up to you. Two, the importance of a photographer finding their own unique voice. And three, why that works as a whole, like across all genres then when we do that. So either one of you can start.
I think I'll let Kirsten speak to the industry aspect. I won't claim to. Yeah, you go. You take that one. And then I'll tell you how I feel about voice emotionally.
How honest are we being? Are we being like super nice, or are we being brutally honest?
Well, I guess maybe we should ask our crowd. Do you guys want very honest, brutal, or do we want? Oh, we have one person saying being really gentle. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Everybody wants honest.
So I think one of my frustrations in the arts in general, it's not just photography, it's not just this industry. It is, and I really believe that social media and the access to the internet has impaired, I come from a lifelong, many generations of artists in my family. And what I've noticed, I initially noticed it with me when I first started shooting weddings. No one even had a website, and I was shooting with film, and it was just me and my work and my clients, and most of it wasn't super strong, but I see more of myself in that work than I do like 6 or 7 years following it, when there was this influx of blogs and some sort of like the raising up of particular people in the industry, and so they became famous or whatever, and so everyone was using actions and total rad actions specifically, and those things to mask the work you were making to make it look like everyone else's, right? And I see it happen in the fine art world now. I see it happening in music. I see it happening in dance in particular, and dance comp, but that's a whole nother story. And what I think that is highlighting this this need to inherent desire or need socially to fit in to the infrastructure of social confines of like how we socialize as humans, as mammals, as biological beings, because in the animal world, if you don't fit in, you could die because something could eat you, right? But I mean, if we're talking, like hypothetical, or not hypothetically, but like in terms of analogy, I think we fear being eaten or disposed of. So all that being said, what I'd like to see more of in this particular genre is people letting go of that, and whether that means not being on Instagram as much, or not being on Facebook as much, and not ingesting so much of what your peers are making, and simply look and reflect from within your own life experiences and how you see the world and how you feel about the world and how the world makes your body feel and what excites you and what interests you. If you can just hone in on that and shoot from that place, we're going to see voice. If you can't get there, we are not going to see voice, no matter how hard you try. It's not a matter of the way that you tone or process images. It's not even, to an extent, what you're how often you're pressing down the shutter. It's a matter of what is igniting that interest to press down the shutter. And that comes from a very deep reflection of yourself. And I don't see a lot of that in the industry. I don't see a lot of it in photo comps. I don't see a lot of it in when I'm looking at people's websites. I see a lot of catchphrases. I see a lot of images I've seen made a million times, which are great. You can give those to your client. But in terms of what I'm seeing in terms of artistic vision, which simply is the transparency of who the maker is, you're not going to have voice. Was that harsh or was that okay?
No, that was lovely.
Was that very distracted in terms of like jumping back and forth? But like, I don't know, you caught me off guard. I don't have any
I'm sorry. That was
cards or anything.
I like catching you off guard.
Who doesn't like surprises on a Zoom call? I love them.
I mean, we've had a baby mask and
Yeah. But yeah, there's not a lot of voice. I don't see a lot of voice. I see a lot of the same shit I've seen over and over and over again. And this is why I stay off of most social media, especially these days, because I'm really trying to focus on, I'm always trying to focus on pushing my work to a new place every day. Every time I pick up the camera, I'm trying to hone in on really just how, who I am as a human being, and using or allowing the camera to be some sort of portal between me, my inner thoughts, my inner experience, and with the outside world, and sharing that with them.
I don't think people can even build up to that point of pushing themselves even further until they've at least found that foundation of their unique voice. And I know from Jenna, I'll let you chime in when you get to the emotional aspect in a second. But I know, like, whenever I think of my own photography journey, or thinking on students' photography journey, when we like look back way at the beginning of photos that we made, and of course they're terrible, but we were making photos that just simply moved us, and more of our voice was probably showing up then versus when we have stalked Instagram or, stalked all these different photographers and pulled all these different things in and tried to be a little bit more, in the beginning, you're shooting almost from your gut, even though you may not know what you're doing. It's coming from an innate place. Whereas, we get fleshed out through, all the things we see, voices, or even, other things that might excuse me, inspire us in one way or the other. And so I think it's important that identifying the voice so that you can then build on it and have a foundation. And then in addition to that, when you do see something that inspires you, or someone's work, whether that be photography or maybe music or a movie or whatever it is, you can use that to further your own voice and not replicate it. So taking that and making it your own. Go ahead, Jenna, with the emotional side of thing.
I wrote down notes for myself because I feel like I'm going to also veer a little bit off track, and I've got 5 points that I'm going to try to quickly address, which probably will happen because I made the mistake of having 2 coffees right before this. Okay, so I just want to end, like, taking on the end of what you guys said. What I want to follow up with is that it's in there. It's always in there. And this is what I find so fascinating about working with people, is that your voice is in your contact sheets, whether you know it or not. And what you pick may be very far from your voice, but your voice exists. And we can see, like, you can see what people are interested in, and you can also see what they ditch based on pressure or, pressure from self or industry, or, stress from, you think the client needs you to move, those kind of things. But what you're interested in exists in there. So if you feel like you have no voice, it's actually not true. It's just that you haven't identified it yet. Yeah. It's just inherently a part of us, which is kind of what you're addressing by often our earlier work carries the voice, and then our in-between work doesn't, and then it comes back. Obviously that's ideal. The like notes I wanted to make, like, I wanted to address the like importance of a voice from like a business perspective. Is just that, like, the more people there are in an industry, the more important it is to have your voice. This is obvious to me, but the more important it is to have voice so that people can remember who you are. And so for me, like, one of the ways that I remember people is seeing their first and last name and the like first image of their website or an award they've won, for example. I don't forget those people because I see them together. Or if I do forget their name, I don't forget the image. right? And so then I can go back to them like, oh, you're that person, you took that photo. And to me, that's not about status. That's about what I connected with you. Like you took something that I connected to, and that's telling me about you as a person. And so if you're flooded, you're looking through a bunch of websites and you're trying to pick a photographer that's right for you, for your wedding or your family or whatever, you need to stand out amongst everyone else because you need to speak directly to that client. But that to me is actually kind of not the point. Again, I wrote this down because I wrote too messy. What's my number 2? Okay. Oh, names. I wrote that. Oh, good. I covered 2 things at once. But this is like, that's the little like business pep talk. It needs to exist. Voice is important, blah, blah, blah. But here's what I love. And I'm aggressive about this love. So it's fluffy, but aggressively fluffy. Okay. Which is that when you have a strong voice and you are connected to yourself and you are making images that reflect yourself, you will have high job satisfaction. And I am big on high job satisfaction and happiness. I think that we should be happy in our work because we are stuck working, because especially us photographers, we're going to have to work till we literally die. I don't know how anyone is going to retire, but anyway,
Hey,
Ash will help with that.
yourself.
Ash will retire. I'm not retired.
That is only Jenna's perspective.
That's
Yeah,
right.
No, but don't you want to work till you die? I do because
that's
love
what
my
I
job.
want. Because I
don't-
want to, not because I have to.
That's
Okay,
right.
I don't have a retirement fund, but the point is this.
We'll talk later, Jenna.
No, I know Ash will help me with that. I'm not the business teacher, but we have to like our fucking jobs. Do you know what I mean? Like we are doing this, and like, why not love your job? And I feel like even within something that we love, like a lot of us, not me, because I do love it, but people will pick like photography and then they shoot something that they don't want to shoot because they think that's what's going to make them money, instead of shooting the best they possibly can with the best voice they possibly can in whatever area they want, and then making money from being themselves. Do you know? And so I feel very aggressive about satisfaction and just being true to yourself. And also, it's so wonderful to feel seen and to make other people feel seen. And when you have voice, that's naturally what happens. So for example, based on the fact that I don't have a retirement fund, I'm a business asshat, okay? I don't know anything about business, but I can run a business 100% on referral and work alone, right? So I don't know how to make a logo, but people hire me because they see how I see the world. So like they connect with the images. And if you have really great images, and they speak to you, they will speak to other people. And then naturally, you avoid these clients that you don't like. So people, for example, all the time say to me, can I still like weddings? And they'll be like, oh, brides. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have those people because they're so wonderful. The people that come to me, I don't even have to interview them and they don't have to interview me. I just say, you know what? If you like the pictures, we're probably going to get along. And 9 times out of 10, 9.5 times out of 10, I would say that's 100% true. So I just feel very aggressive again about why voice is important for your quality of life. Or not.
To piggyback off of what Jenna said about feeling like not making work that you think is just going to make you money, bring in a paycheck, and actually just make work that you believe in, that resonates with you, and that can then speak to the outside world who will want to hire you. That and this is a whole nother conversation, is about risk, and taking the risk to or choosing to risk maybe not booking the clients that are just price shopping or just hiring you because you have, you know, what fits within their budget and you're making work like everybody else. And take that risk and believe that what you have to say and how you see the world is going to speak to other people, and they're going to want to hire you, not because you're a photographer, not because you're a documentary photographer, not because you're the most well-known in the area, but simply because they want to see how you see their family. They want to have your photographs on their walls and in their albums. And that is the place you want to get to. That's where I think all three of us want everybody that we work with to get to, that you believe in yourself and your work, and that you take that risk and trust that there are people out there that are going to connect with it. Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So piggybacking off of that, were you going to say something, Jenna?
Really quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I find it so ironic that when we look up to photographers, the people that are making the most money are very rich in voice, and the people that are doing the best in any industry are rich in voice, but we always take safe steps and choices because we think that is the best place to go. But why do we do that?
Right.
You know, it doesn't really make sense.
But I think it's
We don't want to be eaten by the outside world, and we want to fit in.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry.
And it's also because we, a lot of times, again, have lost our voice or that innate feeling, that subconscious. I always call it like the subconscious, right? It's like happening back here all the time. And I can't remember if it was Jenna or Kirsten that was saying that, you know, when we're selecting photos, which ones we like, you know, like in our subconscious, we know which ones it should be, but we're going based on what we've seen over and over and over again. And we're selecting those for our portfolio. I had written down here, I'm doing the same thing as you, Jenna, writing little notes as my brain starts working, is that when we don't have our own unique artistic voice, not only are you just kind of blending in, or as Kirsten was mentioning, you know, people are coming to you based on price rather than on your work itself. But you have no way to, or you won't have the ability to truly describe your work, whether that be for your website or, you know, business or marketing, or if you're trying to write an artist statement or something about a project. If you haven't taken the time and taken the steps to really get in touch with that subconscious voice that's happening, that you kind of lose that ability to truly describe your work. So what I often see is, like, I'll visit photographers' websites, especially, you know, when people apply to be a member for DFP, I always check the websites just because I'm nosy. And not a lot of times, but a few times I've seen where it's like, words will be on this website saying one thing, but their photos are showing something completely different than the words on they're not matching up with what's on the website, if that makes sense. So maybe it's something like, oh, really showing your family's connections and, you know, like true nurturing. And then they have this portfolio that's hysterically funny. And it's like, wait, your voice is somewhere in this humor area.
Mhm.
Like, don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with these little moments as well, but you're like really into these, you're seeing these explosive things, and that's what we need to hone in on.
Or like a lot of people talk about being in the everyday life, but a lot of portfolio is outdoors in the park.
Right.
It's still a portrait session, and it's going to be hard to get what you want if you're only showing the opposite of what you want, right?
Right. One of the hardest parts of NMFA, of No More Fucking Around, is when we go through the process of looking through your work, and then not only that, but going back through your story of like who you are, where you came from, because all of that has to do with how you see the world, right? And then going through and trying to put words to those things, and trying to figure out like, okay, what am I doing? And not for tomorrow, but what am I doing today for people? And that's a huge difference versus like, oh, what will people see in the future when they look at my photos, versus when someone looks at my image today, what are they feeling? Right. So it's a really hard exercise. I know a lot of the students get pissed at me during that month. It's the hardest month, but it's a really important exercise because it allows you to start looking at your work in a different way, and realizing how what kind of impact you can have on people with your work. And not only that, but how you can own your work, right? Like, it's more of you and who you are. So I like what Lauren said here, that when she looks at other people's work, it opens her eyes to what's possible, and then she can run with her own voice, like in her own way. And I think that's important. Exactly. Like, if you can really identify that, and then looking at other people's work, you should be able to then be, you know, put your own spin or your own composition or technical aspects or whatever, and make something even more true to you.
Camila had a question. How can we practice working on original work or making imagery that has our voice when the industry, more specifically competitions, require a certain aesthetic or a certain kind of image? Well, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to challenge that idea that comps need or looking for a particular aesthetic. Just speaking for Jenna and I, and Tristan with the DFA, we're constantly looking for new work, and constantly trying to award and celebrate work we've never seen before, images and pictures that are new, that move us. And so if you look at what we've awarded over the last 5 years. I don't even know how long we've had it. But each gallery, each comp that we hold, the work is very different. And so it's a matter of where you're looking and what you're competing with. But I would just challenge that idea that, or just the idea that how can you not make original work if all the comps are looking for something? Work has nothing to do with competition. You can submit to competition all you want. It's fun for validation. It's fun to get other eyes on the work that you're making, but it should have no bearing on why you're even making work. It shouldn't have any sort of, and that's coming from someone who co-owns a photo comp. Those two aren't synonymous with each other. They don't run parallel to each other. You practice making your own work because you're constantly checking in every time you're picking up that camera. What is driving you? You're asking yourself, what do I find interesting here? How can I visually articulate that? How am I going to compose this image? How am I going to use the light? What am I going to keep in the picture and in the frame? What am I going to remove from it? What am I highlighting? What am I saying by even taking this picture? That is how you keep working on making work that is parallel to you and your perspective and who you are. It has nothing to do with comp at all.
Well, and
can I just reword that in a different, sorry to interrupt you, we'll lose it, which is to say the same thing, just in a different way, is that I think it's just looking to the wrong benchmark, right? So if you're looking towards an outside source to decide what is quality and what is voice, then yeah, you're always going to get tripped up, right? Any competition is going to trip you up, but you have to look to yourself, right? So like, are you making work that speaks to you? Is it speaking to people? That should be your benchmark. So more of an internal benchmark than an external benchmark.
perfect.
Go ahead, Ash, sorry.
Oh, no, that was it. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oh, okay.
Or something along those lines, but yes.
Great.
Perfect. I mean, mind molded, as my husband
We are
said.
aligned, obviously.
Yes.
The three of us.
Okay, so moving on, then let's get into, because we have our first person here is Brad, and Brad needs to take off to pick up his kids, he said. So I hope he's on here. Hold on. Damn it, Brad, can you write in the chat, Brad? I'm not seeing him on the list. Hold on. I tried to type him in. Otherwise, hold on. Let me.
Look at all the people in here. It's so fun.
I know.
If Brad is not here, did we have more than 3 submit for artistic voice or no?
Hold on. Are you on the Zoom? Yeah, we had 3, and then we have some individual stuff, but we can still carry on this conversation. I think that's absolutely fine. And we can also, for example, the other thing we can do with it is show, well, we would have to ask her. I think Anna is on this call, Anna Bachhaus, to show how Anna's work has evolved, and her true voice has shown through in the last couple of years. If that makes sense. Don't you think she's a good example, Jenna, of someone?
Perfect. Yeah, she's a perfect example
of someone whose voice is we have so many students whose voice, but I think with Anna's, you can see this huge transition. Okay, so I don't see Brad on here at the moment. Brad, hit me up. But we can move on to. Do we want to do a voice critique for Vera to start with then, or?
Yeah, I just need to be able to share my screen.
Yeah, give me one sec. So I'm going to make it Vera. I made it so you can unmute, and then Kirsten, I'll make it so you can.
Okay, I tried. Did it work out? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
Okay, hold on. There we go. And then I'm gonna pull. God, I'm getting really good at Zoom. So add spotlight. There you are. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi. Well, it was a busy time since we spoke last time. It was really super busy. You don't know, but Ash knows I'm pregnant. I'm really far already, and
Oh.
it's really yeah. It's and there's like I have a toddler in the house who is sick all the time, and there was a lot of happening lately. So
Yeah.
well,
Well, we're
but
glad you could take the time to be with us today.
I hope it will continue a little bit more because he's now with the father playing, and I hope they will stick there for a while.
Good.
Not bother.
Well, if he jumps
know.
in, it's no problem.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have a look at your work. You gave us 10 photographs. Is there anything in particular about your work or your voice that you see? Or I think you had said when we chatted for a few minutes, you were saying that you're really trying to kind of hone in on it more, right?
Yeah, I'm sort of still starting out, or I mean, I was photographing for a long time, but just for myself, analog, like for years, and like nearly no people. I was avoiding people for like I don't know for how many years, and then I just this classical story. I got my kid, and I started shooting people because family. And somehow I just got into it more. So now I'm somehow stepping in this waters of people photography. I also somehow try to figure out now exactly what documentary means for me.
Mhm.
Because I mean, it was never for me a question of documentary or something else. I mean, that was what I was doing also before, but somehow I'm now trying also to understand what exactly, how to say, to set my boundaries within the genre, like how much documentary or what does it mean to me? Is it like descriptive thing, let's say, like I want to document the things as they are, or is it like, I mean, what I'm trying to catch there, simply what I'm trying to, or why what documentary means in general to me. I hope, I don't know if it's clear what I want to say.
Yeah.
So I am somehow still, I mean, it's not just about finding my voice, but it's also about finding my focus, or like trying to understand where do I fit or what I want to do, and yeah, what I'm interested to shoot at the first place. And in the meantime, because I like to do everything in the same time, I also decided that I will try to step in it in a professional way. Like I will just try to make it a job for the moment, because I just decided it's a good idea to quit my old job. So I started to do some portfolio shootings parallelly to this, to like shooting just my family. So also you can see the older photos. It's actually exclusively my son. And then there's a couple of from the newer times, which is families I shot, like yeah, some strangers mostly, one family of friends. So now I'm trying to also figure out my place in this, like when I shoot people, which I don't know what happens there, what I want to do there and stuff. So I'm really on the path of searching, or actually also looking for what I'm going to search, sort of. So it's like a very much transitioning. And yeah, Ash also gave me this question, like if I can describe what I want to say with my photos or what I feel is my voice. But it's so hard to say now because the transition from shooting just for myself, not people's stuff on analog, to shooting digital stuff with people, it's like so big. And then came this entire thing which you were talking about, Kirsten, this social media stuff, and the entire community opened, and I start to somehow see the work of the others. So it was like a lot of input lately. So now I'm really trying to somehow get more focus and see what exactly, where does it lead me, or what I expect from this entire documentary photography thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, we see that a few times with students, like trying to figure out where they fit in or how to describe their work, or like what is documentary, like how much or how little documentary do they want to do. And sometimes it really trips people up because they're stuck in this idea of like, when you look at the genre, do I fit into this genre? And that can be tricky, because then it's kind of like looking to other people for your voice, right? It's like looking to decide how you can fit into something versus going like, here's where I am and here's how I do it, so it just a little reminder to say that it can be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to have a certain style or approach or anything to fit in somewhere. You can just do what you want. And then if you find the words to describe what you like to do, that's where like the harmony is. It's not about whether you fit into documentary family as much as do you describe your work to your clients in the right way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yep. Yes.
I really love these where you've isolated these like very particular details, like the toilet and the going in the cupboard and this ball. Those three in particular stick out to me. And maybe the horse, but yeah, there's something about this, like you've really isolated what you want me to see and read in the image, and I appreciate that. I get there. They're quite clean and quick for me.
Yeah, the ball is my favorite picture so far. I really like that one. It's fun.
Yeah, and that's your son, you're saying, yeah?
That's my son, yeah.
Yeah, and so the other thing is like when what happens to a lot of people is they shoot their own family in the most organic way possible because they're just seeing them as they see their children, and you love the kids and you just want to capture something about them. And then when we go to shoot clients, we think we have to be something completely different, right? And we get tripped up on, again, like what we think an industry expectation is, and we shoot totally differently, and that's fascinating. So it'd be interesting to see as you experiment and keep trying, to see where you land in that. And I would just encourage you to try to reject those expectations and keep shooting the way you shoot your son. So like, if this was your family, how would you shoot it? When you go to a client's house, so that's a good advice for anybody. When you go, that shoots their own family, is that when you go to a client's house, how would you shoot it if it was your kid?
Yeah, that's a good tip for sure. Yeah. I mean, like, I know what I'm interested in for myself. I'm super interested in people. Like, I am really interested in who they are, what they do. I also spend a lot of time chit-chatting with them or whoever I meet in general. But it's hard to translate to the photography kind of thing. And it's also this thing about like being descriptive or not descriptive, that I really try to somehow catch them, like their inner being, but it is so hard to translate it with the image. So if I should say what is my own motivation, it would be going in this way. Like, I just want to catch them in a way that they can feel themselves, or people who look at it can feel them, or whatever. But this is really, I mean, it's like far beyond that. It's like a far away aim. So it's not just about describing the story, it's not about describing the moment. And of course, there are stuff I like I want to show this joy of the life and these kind of things. But that is not the main thing. I mean, like, what I really would like to get it is this feeling of what is the substance of the people. So that is what really intrigued me. But yeah, outreach is another thing. But that is also, before I started shooting people, that was what I was trying to do also for myself. Like, I just was trying to somehow distill the moments or the things or whatever I see. And now I try to do the same with people, but it's hard. Yeah.
Fear, there's something interesting that I'm noticing. So here's 9 of the 10. And I don't know if it's probably not conscious. And it's something that I can pick up on fairly quickly if I'm looking at work. And there's multiple reasons that can be drivers to why photographers do this almost subliminally. 9 of the 10 photos highlight one individual's experience with their environment or their moment. Now, obviously, I think this is your first son and he is your main subject, and so he's probably alone a lot. But even with the photos, several of these photos where there's multiple people in them, you're still choosing. The ones that you're selecting and showing us are individuals' experience with their environment, with their moment. Here, obviously, this one, these are fairly easy because they're single people. But even here, each subject in this image is having their own experience, and you've highlighted that in one single frame. Same with this. These children are not having a relationship with each other in this moment or in this frame. They are having individual experiences, and you've highlighted both of them. And to an extent, even here, what I find interesting is the two pairs of subjects that are interacting with each other, you have made one of them anonymous, whether by choice or by choosing the picture that resonated the most with you. Again, in a way, it's each individual's experience. And that's something really fun to see about what you're drawn to, whether you realize it or not, and also to take a note of moving forward, if you start photographing for other people and relationship is important to you and highlighting people's relationships with one another, you want to keep that in mind, that you can gravitate towards highlighting individuals' experience and less them cohabitating or really exchanging feelings or experience with one another. It is something that you might make note of when you're in the field that you should pay more attention to and spend a little bit more time on. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Yeah, I actually never thought about it this way. But yeah, now when you say it, yes, sure.
The another thing I picked up on was you potentially have the beginnings of a little series, whether I don't know if you realize that or not. But these 3 images all have some sort of horse in them. And I find that super endearing. And it's just something I picked up on that could be the beginnings of a intentional or unintentional, meaning you place the horse somewhere, which isn't as documentary, but when it comes to personal projects, it doesn't really matter. Or just be more mindful. If you see something happening and then you notice a little horse, you could put that in your pocket in terms of a series that could be developing. And there was one more thing I was going to say that I don't, well, I was just going to also, I agree with Jenna in terms of photos. I really like this horse photo a lot as
I
well.
put that in there too, the one that sort of matches.
And there's something about this one that I really like. It actually, it's the feeling of it, the mood of it is reminiscent to a photo that a woman by the name of Michaela, why is her last name evading me right now?
Like in our industry,
Yeah.
Martin?
Is it Michaela Martin? Is that her last name?
Well,
She has a winning image in one of the cycles of DFA with this very similar, like almost, it's almost not real, like this, it almost feels doll-like, this child, or like this really snippet of this fusion between reality and fantasy somehow. It's like this kind of like this eerie mood I have or feel I have with this that I'm really drawn to. So these are the ones that most speak to me the loudest.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, like you obviously are very connected to those that like you seem, when I look at these, I feel sort of quiet and calmly connected to the boy, do you know? So I feel like you as a photographer are in that place and you're obviously connecting quite well with those, that quiet, and that's coming through in the work. And interesting to see how you can highlight it in a busier scenario. You're still really connecting with that quiet.
Yes, it's true. Yes, that's
So it's a natural
very
version of
correct,
your
yeah.
voice that's coming. Yeah. And you have a gentle way of speaking. So I'm guessing that's similar to your personality. So then the interesting thing to do going forward is still don't lose that connection, keep connected to what you've got working. And then similar, like use that same, whatever you do to go into that place, use that same technique to go into any other emotions, right? So explore what other emotions you can connect to as well. And that will be quite fascinating to see how that shows up in your work.
Words that come to mind for me when I look at your work is curious, very whimsical, quiet or gentle, like Jenna was saying, and non-judgmental, coming from a very pure place. All those things are feelings that I have, or words that come to mind when I'm looking at your work as a whole. And like Jenna said, a lot of times what we hope for is what we're most drawn to, or if you're getting outside help like this, where outsiders are looking at the work as a whole and then kind of seeing similarities or ways in which the photos are paying homage to one another. There's some cohesiveness to it. You hope that is this reflection of you. And a lot of times I ask this question when I see work where I'm like, oh, it's like these individuals experience. I always have this curiosity. Does that resonate with you as a child? Like, did you feel like you kind of lived in your own little magical world where a lot of it was you and less so interacting on the moments you remember most, or the way that you navigated through the world? Was it more on an individual basis of exploring versus with somebody? It can or can't be, like it's usually one or the other. It's like total opposite or very in line, but just things that you can think about. How does this kind of reflect how I navigate the world now, or is it kind of a reflection of my experience in my childhood a million years ago back then?
Yeah. Do you see, I'm curious now of the answer. Do you see yourself in these images?
Myself, my childhood. No, well, that's really tricky question because, well, I have 4 siblings, so it was it was not that calm. I mean, I can see the calm and what you described. I can see there, like my inner myself. I see in the images, but I don't really see let's say the happenings itself, because it was always very, very chaotic in our place and very loud and very. Yeah.
But if you are like connected to yourself within all that chaos,
know
how your ability to still be quiet in a busy environment will show through your work, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I'm super introverted since ever, so I didn't lose that ability or character. Yeah. I think that sticks with someone. I don't think one can change it really. So yeah.
And that's something beautiful to keep in mind for you, and almost like this superpower is, remember that even in the most chaotic of moments, whether it's in a family environment or it's in a crowd or a school, just because the outside looks very busy and seemingly everyone is connected, there's always going to be somebody out there that maybe doesn't feel seen or feels isolated from the chaos. And you might have this natural ability to pick up on that and to see them beyond what we're all seeing on a surface level. So keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. So stick with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Great work.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks a lot for all the words. It's really great feedback. Thank you very much, really.
Thanks for sharing with us. And also, if you're introverted, I'm sure that you're sweaty right now. So I appreciate the putting yourself out there.
That's right. Great job there.
Just a guess, just a wild guess.
Thanks a lot.
Brad?
Yeah, Brad's here. Hold on.
Brad. Okay. I thought I was speaking into the nothing. Brad.
Brad.
How are you?
It's my favorite
I'm
Kirsten
here.
teacher voice.
Welcome, Brad Resnick.
Your teacher voice.
Thank you.
Jenna.
So
Brad?
I wanted to mention really quick, Brad and I had been chatting a bit, and initially he had said, oh my gosh, I thought, I don't know why I was thinking this is like wedding stuff. And then, he's like, I am not as confident in my family work. And I'm like, you know what, send me both, because I want to see kind of the difference of what's going on in your family work, or if there versus your wedding work, and if there's any similarities there, and how that all works. And in addition to that, I think it's a really interesting conversation and something that gets you can't see Brad? Oh, hold on.
I can't see Brad either.
Oh, that's weird.
Hold on.
I can see myself.
Spotlight. Okay.
I see you, Brad.
Hi.
I think it's an interesting conversation, because I get asked quite often about, if you're offering, let's say, family photography as well as wedding photography, do I need to have 2 different websites, or what can I do? And the idea behind this is to be able to have a cohesive voice and brand where it can all live under one umbrella. So what you're trying, the sentiments and what you're showing the world and putting out there should have the same impact no matter what you're shooting. Of course, maybe an approach, the approach might be a little different, or in terms of like posed versus documentary or whatever, but you're still there, and that's the main part of it, right?
Ideally, right?
Yes. Spotlight, Brad. Is Brad on Spotlight now for
Now I
everyone?
see Brad.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in right now.
Mhm.
How can I only see Kirsten's screen? God, I'm a hot mess.
What? Say that again?
I don't see anyone. I just see your screen.
Brad, were you weddings first?
Sorry.
Did you shoot weddings before, like first, before family?
They're kind of interspersed. I mean, I weddings is the heavier part of my business, I'd say.
Yeah. Because I'm wondering, when you're as a wedding photographer, it's like busy, moments are given to you, you have permission to shoot whatever you want and to get in there, because that's like what we're used to. And I'm wondering if when you switch to families, if it's harder because the moments aren't quite as like large and in charge, and or whether you feel more cautious in those moments.
Right.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, I was telling Ashley, like, I feel like I kind of switched. I know we're talking about voice, and weddings, were a hard thing for me getting into it, because and I guess like family photography too, but it's so saturated, especially where I am. And to me, a lot of the work looks the same, and I kind of fell into this trap of like, here's what's expected, here's what the Knot and Wedding Wire and all these other like wedding places put out.
Mhm.
And it never felt right to me. It never felt interesting, exciting. It just kind of felt the same. And I'll put all my credit. I took Chuck Iannarino's course last year, and that kind of changed my outlook of what's possible and what people do or don't expect.
Right.
So I really started kind of diving deep into that aspect of it, and just changing the way I do things, and realizing that people don't really will expect kind of what you tell them.
Yeah.
And so with weddings, and I'm trying to remember what you asked me the question of, like, can I get into it? Like, I'm kind of expected to get in the kind of those moments. Is that kind of what you were?
Or just, yeah, like at weddings, I feel like you're as a culture, we permit photographers in there, so it's like a little easier to be brave, or moments are louder naturally at weddings, so that you can click through even without voice almost.
True.
Yeah,
there's a lot more emotion going on, but I also think there's a lot with weddings, there's a lot of like those expectations of like, here's what the photographer is going to take pictures of.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to kind of break that. And I found it's similar challenges with family of like, oh, here's, let's update our family Christmas card. But I'm like, no, there's like, yes, that's important, but there's more to it about really trying to capture the images that are going to represent your family, not just get together in a group and smile. So I've found similar challenges in that, but yeah, for sure, there's definitely the emotions are much higher generally for weddings. But they both, I think, have their unique challenges in that way.
Yeah, well, I find both easy and hard for different reasons. So like weddings, for example, are easier in some way, and at the moment, a lot of moments are given to you. Harder then for you to find your voice in that, because you've actually got to pay really close attention that you're not just shooting for an industry expectation, like which is what you said. And same thing with family, they're a little easier in the sense that like you don't have to deliver these like the first kiss and the all these expectations, but at the same time harder in that you got to make sure you have a voice and really pay attention to those moments that you're showing the heart of who you're photographing.
Well, that's what the challenge was for me in trying to kind of change my voice, so to speak, is to not just feel like I'm there taking snapshots.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I want to try to do that, transition my family business in that same respect.
Brad, can I ask you some questions?
Of course, yeah.
Are you ready to be psychoanalyzed?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
There's no psychoanalysis right now.
Just for fun, for everyone to know, this is how Kirsten answers the phone too. When you call her, she goes, Jenna.
Very ominous.
Hi, buddy.
Jenna? Yes, Jenna. Brad, where are you from? You said that there's a lot of
I'm in New Jersey, New Jersey.
Okay. Are you getting work both in the city and in Philly as well as Jersey, or no?
No, I'm mostly Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long have you been shooting?
This will be year 8.
Okay. Would you say these are, let's leave the family aside because you weren't sure you were even going to send in family initially. So I'm
Mhm.
just going to focus on the weddings for a second.
Sure, sure.
Would you say these are some of your favorite wedding photos that you've made to date?
So these are recent, and like I said, more since kind of trying to change my voice.
Yep.
So in that lens, I'd say yes.
Okay. How honest do you want me to be?
Shoot, just throw it at me. I told Ashley, I was like, I don't think there's any cohesion here, but I'll see what happens. Yeah, throw it at me.
My main gut is you have so much more in here in you than what you're making, and there's some fear that is holding you back.
Okay.
From just what I'm seeing is you shooting from a safe place. What I'm seeing is you being a very respectful photographer. I see you not wanting to in any way make anyone feel uncomfortable, but really that's about you making yourself feel uncomfortable, not about them feeling. Does
Yep.
any of this resonate with what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's immediately what I'm seeing is all of these are from a fairly safe place. And the other thing is I'm seeing that you are relying on an approach that you repeat over and over again in terms of making the photos with layering.
Mhm.
Foreground, background, foreground's out of focus, background's in focus. We got 2 layers. They're not really that dynamic. And we're not paying as much of attention as we need to about how the foreground is actually supporting what's happening in the background. And I see it here.
Can you expand upon that in terms of support?
So yes, to support you, which is interesting here because this is a aperture 5. What lens we're using? A 24.
24-70 probably. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty blobby
Mhm.
here. What I want to push you further is if we're going to use a layer, right? And we're going to be how your foreground and your background are actually working together to tell a story. I don't want this to be just he's there to know that he's giving a speech. I actually want to push it further in that there's actually a moment, whether he's in focus or not, there's a moment happening with him that's strong with them as well. Also, for me, I'm like, I think there's a lot of information here we don't need. And how can, when you're in the field, here's the other thing, I'm not 100% sure you're being selfish enough in the field. And 8 years into this, and you really wanting to hone into your voice, I need you to be a fucking super selfish photographer and trust and take that risk that by you shooting what you find most interesting is actually going to resonate and make your clients happier than just shooting what is happening. Because right now, what I feel is this is a photograph of what is happening. It's not what you find most interesting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And by using this technique of the foreground background, which I see here, 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 and this is a trick on top of the foreground background. Here and here, do you see what I'm saying? It's all very much the same technique, but I want you to be using that technique selfishly. I really want you to not be afraid to get in there and get the shot. Yes, this is great in terms of like showing, here's the predictability thing that Jenna was talking about. That's easy with weddings, right? We all know the thing. It's like when the father first sees his daughter for the first time getting married, it's one of 2 things. He's going to be crying and it's a big fucking mess and it's great for moments, or like he's dead on the inside and he's like, listen, you're late, let's go. Like, I don't have time for this, right? It's like one or the other. It seems to be like nothing in between. Same thing when the bride comes out and all the ladies see her in her dress for the first time. We can predict usually that there's something like this happening, right? But instead of using this technique of behind her, like this layer, and I love layers, but I want you to push this further. Do we care about this ceiling fan? No, it fucking sucks. So is there a way that you can also clean up and focus on, like, highlight all the things that you find interesting and important in a much more deliberate, intentional way with your composition? Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just trying to, my brain is trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay. And it doesn't need to figure out right this second, but
Yeah.
again, I'm like, did you shoot this because this is what was happening? Versus did you allow your body to be like, oh, who's the most interesting person responding? Do we need all of them? Like, that's another risk. Do we need all of them? Or is it about how their response is making her feel like gorgeous and like, and beautiful on the inside, right? I don't know that, because right now it just feels like I'm looking at it. I'm not in it in the moment with you. Does this make sense? Jenna?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I expand on that as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the thing that we see in weddings too. Again, it's like expectations of, like you're saying, shooting what's happening, and we can anticipate certain things and we know what we're supposed to get. Something, how in touch are you with your emotions? Like, do you feel connected to your emotions?
This
I
is where
mean-
Jenna's going to psychoanalyze you.
Yeah.
I don't know. How do you answer that? Is that a straight yes or no question?
No,
Is that-
well, I guess
Slap you
basically,
around a
like,
bit.
are you okay if I give you some like, well, okay. Well,
Do
anyway,
it, yeah.
what I was going to say is, you'll
Yeah.
you'll see where I'm going with this is, one thing I get from a lot of your work right now too, is like, it's really happy and upbeat, and it feels like, all happy weddings, right?
Mhm.
And so what I'm wondering about you, so in terms of your voice, is like, what do you like about weddings? Do you know, like, what do you resonate so with about actual weddings? And this plays into the expectations, in that, like, I think we, as a wedding photographer, and keep in mind, I love weddings, okay? We go, so I'm not like shitting on them. I love them. You go into them, and like, there's these industry expectations, there's bridal expectations, and we can do better versions of that and have a voice within that. But there's still this idea of like what weddings might look like. However, to really get at the heart of them, we have to see them like unique individual events. And the reason I ask you is, how connected are you? Is that like, are you okay if I suggest I would actually suggest in this case, maybe some free writing journaling. You like literally dump your brain of your images. Don't think about what you've shot. And like, spend some time, like, I don't want to sound too fluffy here, but like literally meditating on, what do you like on the day? Like, where do you have like an increased heart rate? You know, like for me, I never ever get sick of right before they walk down the aisle. It's the most typical thing, but I'm always excited for them and a little bit nervous, and like makes me want to cry every single time. And I've been to so many, but like for me, that's very true. Like that anticipation and the excitement and it all coming together. And like, I love when the generations, like, I love when like a dad has waited his whole life to do the first dance. Do you know what I mean? With his daughter. And then
Mhm.
like the way that parents look at their kids, even if their kid is annoyed at their parents for looking at them that way. Like, I resonate with all of that, like the raising of these people, and then the community supporting them in their marriage, like all that stuff really resonates for me. And I feel really
Yeah.
emotional about it. I don't know with these photos yet what you feel emotional about. And sometimes that's hard if you're not connected to your own emotions about it. Like, you don't have to go into that here. But like, we could in the future, but you don't have to do it now. But I would just spend time thinking about that and like really connect with what means something to you, because that will mean something to your clients too. So like, when the bride comes out and she shows her friends her dress, all those people, for example, are giving you a moment, but what of those expressions resonates with you the most, right? Like, which friend looks at her the way you might look at your sister or your
Mhm.
friend coming out in a dress, and connect with those kind of moments. And then that will show through in your work a bit more of what's inside of you.
SJ just asked this question. Kirsten, please expand on selfish shooting and how that can impact your subjects. Brad, tell me why you made this photo from this particular spot. Like, why this picture?
I was bored, I guess, if I'm being honest. I was bored. There was nothing happening. It was probably like a 3.5 hour prep time with like, with no bridesmaids, which is this bride and like one of her best friends. And she was sitting doing her makeup, and her friend was there sitting, and they were just chatting.
Okay.
So if I'm being brutally honest, I was bored. I saw the mirror there and I was like, oh, this could be kind of interesting. And I just waited.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I love that you were honest with me, right? Because it feels like you're bored, because there's no intention behind this.
Mhm.
Please tell me the reason for this? Just tell me.
I'm
Something, a
trying to
more,
remember. I think just to make it, it felt like an interesting graphical art element. It just felt like I don't know. I was just trying, like I said, I was bored, and I
Trying to
think
shake it
I
up.
probably have a shot without it. And then I was like, let me try it with it. And I don't know. There's something about the separation I liked.
okay.
Yeah.
I do not like it at all. I'm telling you.
Okay. That's
Wow,
fine.
wow.
Hey, you told me to be honest, and I'm gonna tell you why.
This is what we're
Yeah.
calling no more fucking around.
Yeah,
Brad.
I don't like it at all because there's no purpose or real reason for it. And
Mhm.
that doesn't even come from looking at it and like saying, oh, it's dividing it or not dividing it. It's doing it effectively or not effectively. It's because it has nothing to do with you or what you were seeing or what you wanted to make a picture of, right? So it's crap.
Yeah.
It's gone. Don't show
Yeah.
it ever again. It's done.
Okay.
But I'm going to use this as an example of answering that question about how to shoot selfishly. The first thing is you said you were really bored.
Mhm.
I've gotten to the point, and I feel like you're at the point 8 years in, if you can connect with really shooting selfishly, if you're really bored, stop making photos. Don't make photos just to make photos. Go ahead and sit with them and like get some really awesome stories from them. Her and her best friend, like find out how they met, ask them like what were like their craziest times together. What's one day or night that they couldn't imagine not having together. Get to know your clients and get that trust from them. Putting in that time when you're bored and there's nothing happening is actually working harder to make better photos later. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. And to kind of go back to what Jenna was saying, this is kind of part of the switch and the struggle that I've had over the past year, is I'm really trying to, at least for my clients, maybe not, like you said, talking with her friend that's there, but beforehand, trying to talk to them, have multiple conversations, get into deeper things about who they are as people, as individuals, as a couple, who's important to them. And I think, Jenna, you were mentioning about, am I in touch with my emotions? Or you mentioned about something about I guess the connection or kind of why I do this and or like what motivates me. And it's that connection. It's knowing that I got something meaningful for my clients, not, oh, here's this award-winning image. It's, I have images of like a bride and her sister, not a great photo by any stretch of the imagination, but I know that she's gonna like die over it because I know that how close she is with her sister. So that's what gets me excited and what motivates me in the long run.
Good. So from now on,
yeah.
when you're in the field and you're like, I'm bored, say, Kirsten gave me permission not to shoot. Keep your eyes open, keep your ears open, keep
Yeah.
your senses aligned and like alert. But it's okay to not make pictures every moment that you're there. And
That's
it's
the
also
struggle
okay.
with weddings. Yeah.
I know. And it's with family sessions too. I get this all the time with students. They're like, I don't know. I just made the photo because I had to shoot. And like, I didn't want to
Right.
think I wasn't working.
Right.
You are always working, whether the camera is up to your face or not. If you're really trying to identify what it is you find interesting, as well as get access. The only way you get access is to be present in the moment and also to communicate with them from a genuine place of honest interest and wanting to be a part of it, not being a fly on the wall. So you can also do intel during the shoot. It doesn't all have to be beforehand. And actually the most genuine is going to be during the shoot, not giving them time to like have an interview, but just being engrossed in conversation. I'll ask you this one last thing about shooting selfish. Of this scene, what's the most interesting thing to you? There is no right or wrong answer. It's just what is most interesting to you.
Just visually is her reflection in the mirror.
Is it okay? So for you, it's just the reflection. So this is another place. If I was working with you, I'd want to move you past. Okay, so the technique is the reflection, right? And that's a cool trick. But for me, look at that genuine joy on her face. And then that makes me think about so many hundreds of hours of laughing that hard with Jenna, right? And that kind of relationship, even just almost like a portrait of her with the reflection, with all the makeup brushes and stuff around, which then suggests we might be at a wedding or an event and she's getting ready. She might be the main event. That's how we're highlighting or isolating her in the mirror. but then you're waiting for that moment, which has story to it. And that story to me is any woman that laughs that hard is probably connected to a girlfriend, a really good best friend, maybe not even her partner, but just like this relaxed moment of joy before all of the craziness happens and she has to be almost on her best behavior. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Jenna, go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna try and go real, I got a couple, I've got 3 things to say. I'm trying to do them fast for you. Your photographs can not only, like what you're saying, you loved it, like the photo that you have of the sister and the bride, like how excited you are to give that to them. Our photographs teach our clients about themselves, right? So like they might miss how other people love them, but we don't miss it. When we're connected to it, we don't miss it. And then we get to teach them that, you know, and like that to me is like one of the big gifts that we can give them. And then I have 2 pieces of practical advice for you, if you'd like, on like how to pull this together like in a short term. So the other thing you could do with the journaling, like say you do the journaling, blah, 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 if you're into that. And free writing is like where you just write, you just dump your brain about a topic, even if what you're writing is, I have no idea what I fucking feel about this. Do I feel anything? You just write until things start to come out. The other thing you could do is think about the images that you love that aren't good yet. Like, so when that you said that's not a great photo, but you love that you gave it to her, that's the kind of thing that can inspire you. You can use that to inspire yourself. Like, this moment meant something to me. How would I improve that in the future? And then you'd be paying more attention to like the feelings between the sister and like siblings, let's say, and the bride. And then you would be, by paying more attention, more moments will come to you because you'll be paying attention to them and you'll see them more, right? So if you resonate with photos that didn't work out, you'll start brainstorming in a way that's more meaningful. And then my third piece of advice is when you're getting to know the client in the beginning, again, this is kind of industry almost pressure of like, here's how you get to know people and like ask all these questions. What I would encourage you to do is still do that, but like ask questions that you care about. Do you know what I mean? So like if you don't give a shit about how they proposed, don't ask them how
I don't even ask that anymore.
Yeah, me either. I don't care about any of that stuff at all. I did when I was younger, and then that was genuine, right? And the clients have changed as I've changed. But like if you care about who their friends are and how their friends are going to show up for them, talk about that. And just don't be afraid to go like your take on their wedding just to see where it takes you. And that way it'll help you connect with how you're going to feel on that wedding day. And when you're giving yourself permission to not shoot from Kirsten, you can say, Jenna gave me permission to feel this, feel through this.
And then one more thing to carry on for the next shoot.
Yeah.
You go to compose your photo and it's this great moment, you know, some sort of great moment. I'm going to go back to this one. And then I want you to hear my voice in your head. And Kirsten tells you to get 1 foot closer. I want you to take 1 step closer and start penetrating that invisible bubble, safety bubble that you give yourself. And it's going to feel real uncomfortable. And that means it's working, because the more uncomfortable you feel means that there's growth happening. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it's going to be, so that you can be there in the moment when it's necessary, when it requires you to be this close, because this is the moment right here. I don't know what their relationship is, but it's a beautiful relationship. And I actually don't care about her in this moment. And I think this is what you are most interested in, because this is what's in focus for you. Not only is it in focus for you, it is in the middle of the frame. So again, that tells me to you in some way, whether you realize it or not, that was the thing you were most drawn to. So I want you to find ways to really isolate and highlight that and celebrate that in your pictures, and be selfish about that. And don't worry about what you think is obligatory in terms of things to include. I just want you to be selfish and say, this picture, this one is for me because this is what I was most drawn to.
How do you balance that with, because the thing that I struggle with is balancing that with expectations.
Trust. I trust myself and my vision that they're going to be happy. And I develop a genuine care for the people I'm photographing at a wedding, which I don't do very often now. And so I always highlight them in the photos because I care about them. I just pick the ways in which I interpret caring about them. And so the balance comes from me just shooting genuinely, to be honest. And I know that's not the answer you necessarily want, but that's how I balance it.
You'll be rewarded for it. People do want your perspective. So you just have to trust that, and it'll pay off. And then at one point you'll just go, okay, you'll know it. Like I know it in my bones that people want what I have to say. They just do. Otherwise they wouldn't hire me. But I was going to say, you also answered your own question earlier, because you said people will expect what you tell them to expect. Your work will show them. The more developed your portfolio is, the easier this is on yourself.
That's what
your
I
clients
found.
will connect with it. Yeah.
And
as you change, they'll change. Go
And
ahead.
from a business perspective, just quickly, excuse me, again, adding those, being able to articulate that and add the words to it. It doesn't have to be this fluffy wedding photography industry stuff that we're used to reading on all wedding photographers' websites. Like the moment she walks down the aisle, right? Like all of the shit we see on every single website. No, it doesn't have to be that. Once you've kind of honed in and figured out, okay, this is what I am saying. Like Jenna said, journal, like start writing things down, get in your feelings, and you'll figure it out some more. And that will resonate as well, because then when you're talking to people about this, it is genuine. It's not like this like crap thing, like, oh, can't wait to spend your big day with you, like
Special day. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was just gonna say one comment I want to make, Brad, is you were mentioning you're looking to change your voice. You don't need to change your voice. You need to dig deep.
Celebrate it, own it.
Exactly.
Or
And
hone it, right? Like figure
hone
out,
it, own it,
find it.
celebrate it,
Yeah.
get in touch with your feelings, cry, cry, Brad.
Hey, Ash, thanks for saying that, because that had like kind of hit me, like when he said that.
There's nothing you need to change about your voice. If anything, like this is what you're trying to do by saying I need to change my voice. You're going to get further away from it by trying to.
Well, I think maybe I wasn't clear. This what I sent is me starting to change versus what I was doing before, which is more snapshotty or really actually getting bored and doing what everyone else does.
I want to leave you with this. I can tell just from sitting at a screen really far away, we're like 2,000 miles away from each other. You're a good, kind, gentle person that I know creates a really gentle space, a safe space when people are in your proximity. I can tell it.
Yeah.
And so trust that when I say get a little bit closer. And I know it's going to make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but you are already doing what you need to do in terms of just being you. And now just like Ash said, like just own that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And was this
100%
helpful
makes sense.
for you? Was this like?
Yes, I want more.
Join us, Brad, for no more fucking around.
and as much as I was being hard on you, it's because I know that you have incredible potential in there. Otherwise I wouldn't have been so hard. I mean, I could
No, it doesn't
pull
feel
the phone
hard.
up and be like, I love
crave
this
it,
photo, right? But I just wanted you to get something from this. So yeah, I'm
No, I
excited
appreciate
for
it.
where your work's gonna go.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I appreciate it.
submitting.
Yeah, thank you.
Brad.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
Go
Brad.
pick up your kid. Don't forget. He gave me a
Who?
time limit. So thanks, Brad. Okay, hold on.
Francisca? Is that how we say her name?
Francesca, yeah, or Francie. Francesca, do you go by Fran? Oh, wait, hold on. Let me unmute her and then let me add add spotlight.
Hi, do you hear
Hi.
me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Do you like
fine.
to go by Francie or Francesca?
Francie is fine.
Francie, I thought so. Okay. So Francie. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about your work or like where you're at with
Yes. I shoot families. Yeah, I try to find where I'm standing right now. And I see a development in my pictures over the last 2 years when I started to do this for families. And I recognized that my pictures got darker. Maybe this is because life is fucking difficult, and we all go through dark places, and we have to deal with a lot of shitty things, and have to deal with losses and so on. So I recognize that my protagonists are surrounded by a lot of darkness or shadows, but then there's always some light within, and either the light comes within the protagonist, from the people I photograph, and showing their inner strength, or it shows the connectedness with another person or with someone very close. And that's the thing that I realized lately, that these are moments that I'm initially drawn at. So yeah, it's always a thing like light, shadows, and yeah, the people having a connection to each other. And I'm wondering if this is really a voice which is seen from outsiders and from potential clients. Yeah, something like that.
Francie, how long have you been shooting, Francie?
I picked up my camera just like in 2016. I started to photograph Berlin and architecture, everything, but no people. And then in 2017, some people came to me and asked, do you want to shoot my family or my wedding or something like that? And I got pregnant in 2017. And from 2018 on, I photographed my 2 boys now and other families and births, as you can see here. Yes, so for 2 years now, I'm in my 2nd year of being self-employed now. Yes.
Do you have a fine art background at all? Did you paint or draw before this?
Yes, not professionally, but I when I was young, I loved painting a lot. Yes, yeah.
They look, your processing and also the way you're framing and the images that you're selecting, many of them have somewhat of a Renaissance feel to them, Renaissance paintings, which is lovely.
Yeah.
And I would encourage that. In terms of being harsher with you, while these are really lovely, I think, and you're a newer photographer, be careful of tricks for the sake of tricks. That's what I would call this. This is a trick for the sake of a trick. And to an extent, this is as well. You could, moving forward, really being a lot more conscientious of your framing, of your compositions is the next place I would suggest you kind of focus on. I'm not worried about, I don't see a huge thing for me in terms of you connecting with what you find interesting. I think you do that very innately. And it's really really lovely, the moments that you're choosing, the moment in time that you're choosing to stop. For me, there are places where composition can be adjusted and refined. That's going to move your work to the next level. Jenna?
I was just thinking, I wonder, how do you experience what you love is so specific and beautiful. And I said, I suspect it would just be practice this part, but I wonder, do you experience, is it hard for you when the things you really love aren't there? Or how do you find looking for these? Do you know, like, what's the rest of the time with these people like for you? Is it tough, or do you find it natural the whole time? Or what's that experience like?
Well, it's sometimes, as my first speaker said, it's getting boring if there's nothing happening, or if there's not enough light, or even if there is bad light, I don't like it at all, or if there's too much chaos in there. Then I get kind of nervous myself, and I really need to focus myself then again and take a step backwards and try to recognize what's in there, which might which I'm drawn at. Yes.
Yeah. Because I think that's a common thing is like when we love especially when we love affection, actually.
Yeah.
Everyone that loves affection, a lot of people struggle, at least usually at some point, when there's no affection in the session, right? So like if you go to something and there's no affection, no physical affection, of course there's affection in other ways, but there's no physical affection, what do you do? I suspect that's actually the area that you would end up having to practice the most in, which is all these in-between moments to get you to these moments that you're really resonating with or seeing, wanting to see, right? And I imagine that's where the practice is going to be for you, is so like you said, taking a step back and really then getting like, notice yourself quickly when you get bored or getting overwhelmed, and then taking a step back and go, okay, taking a breath. I'm naming it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. Why am I feeling overwhelmed? What is it about this that is overwhelming? And sometimes in that process, we can go, oh, we can actually figure out what to focus on. You know what I mean? Or like maybe the feeling of overwhelm sometimes is what you should be photographing, like almost like what we reject is sometimes the answer. I find that quite fascinating. The things that we reject, we're like, oh, if nothing's happening or too much is happening. Well, what if we just actually embrace that, the real quiet or the real busyness?
Yes.
And yeah, it's so specific what you love that I can imagine. I was just guessing that in between would be tough waiting for it. And what I like is very specific. I love like a lot of dynamic light, and like that's when I really like come together. But what I feel like I do is float through life. I go through the shoot, like shooting it, but like I feel really solid in my ability to shoot it regardless. And then when it comes to me, it feels like a gift. And when that time comes, I go, okay, here we go. And then I lose myself in that moment and I just dig really hard into it. And then the joy of that is enough for me to survive to the next time that it happens. Do you know what I mean? I really float off that high. But you've got to feel technically, so like what Kirsten was saying about composition, you've got to be technically sound on all the in-between stuff as well, because we can't just expect to walk into a perfect Renaissance situation, right? You've got to work yourself into it. So I suspect that's where the practice is really going to be for you.
Yes. And I think because I'm quite new in the family documentary field, that I have the feeling that I have to shoot all the time, and then if there's not the if I don't see the moments that I'm really drawn at, it's just pushing the button and get some pictures, and then. So I'm very happy if I have some shoots which look like this, but all the other stuff is like, okay, well, I give them to the families, but it's not really my voice. So that's kind of hard, or I have to tell myself that I have to reduce pushing the button every moment, and that's the lesson I still I have to learn.
And similar to what we talked about with Brad, is figuring out what else you're interested in. In those days, what else do you resonate with? Right? Like this is obviously your biggest artistic pull, but surely there are other things that speak to you. And so it's really getting in touch with what that's going to be, so that you don't feel so devastated or bored when those days are happening, right? Because there are just, especially if you're fine art inclined, there's some days that are just better than others, right? And that kind of depends on what light is around.
Yes.
It, obviously, like visually you're inspired, right? You're inspired by mood and color and gradients of light that definitely all three of us also are. But like Jenna's saying, and what I was going to suggest is push past that too. What else are you drawn to in those moments? Like what else is sparking it? Whether it's just the way that the hand is grasping, right? The baby's hand is grasping mom, or maybe it's just a very quick expression that you notice that happens every time the child is confused or surprised or thinking. You can be really attentive about picking up on that and watching how your body responds when you're really just observing, and allow yourself to be drawn to other things, things beyond just visual. And then you can find good light and composition in order to fill the frame and shoot the way that you want, for sure. Okay.
Yes, yes.
And adding on, just really quick, adding on to that, like you said, you feel like you have kind of a grasp on what it is you're drawn to in these moments and things like that. And so as Kirsten was saying, what did you say a second ago?
Allow your body to kind of tell you what you find interesting.
Right,
And
what you find interesting. And another
Yeah.
thing you can do, sorry, I just went off a little on a, but is then asking yourself why. Right. So that's another way you can kind of dig into that, like, why is this interesting? Why is it? Why am I feeling this way? What is it about this? And so that way you can start then realizing, you know, when it comes to, okay, I'm not having these little quiet moments all the time. So when you're out of those quiet moments, you can think back to like, okay, why was I feeling that way? Or what is it about this thing? You can then start to kind of search those out in other scenarios.
It can also, like, I'm hesitant to say too much about this at this stage, because I think you really have to shoot a lot and experiment before you make any final decisions about how to like structure your sessions or like what you require. But eventually you can use the structure of what you offer to sort of like facilitate the things that you love. Do you know what I mean? So like, again, if you love indoor, like as an example, that's separate to you, so we don't get too tripped up on specificity, because I want you to discover that for yourself. But like, if you love shooting indoors, you're not gonna say, I offer 1 hour park sessions. You take that off what you offer. You know what I mean? And if you like really love, like, you know, like the turning down of like bedtimes, then you make sure you say to your clients, like, I prefer to shoot over this period of time, so that you don't show up at noon. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying fall back on that. Like, I think expand your skill sets so that you can shoot in any, like, find dynamic light in all lighting scenarios, or most lighting scenarios. But eventually, yeah, you can pay close attention to really what speaks to you and sort of like structure in a way that eliminates the stuff that does not speak to you. Do you know, like, don't offer to do a cake smash party if what you really love are these like deep, intimate moments of vulnerability. You know, I'm being a little extreme, but I'm being extreme so that we don't get too specific, because I wanted you to discover specifically what speaks to you and how you want to spend your time.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful work though, Francie.
yes,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Beautiful.
Thanks a lot. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so let me unspotlight Francie. And we're gonna go on to Agnes, or what, who do you have there?
I've got
Adam.
I can do Agnes.
Oh, do Agnes. I think Adam had to leave. He wrote.
Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm
give
so
him-
sorry, guys. I'll be right back. I just have to do something.
No problem.
You can start.
Okay.
Agnes, I'm getting you, Agnes.
Hi.
Hi, Agnes. Okay, Agnes. I also want to, I always say this out loud when I'm doing individual photo critiques, that keep in mind that every photo is just one photo that someone has made, and it is in no way indicative of the validity of you as a photographer, your strengths, your weaknesses. It's simply a picture that we're going to deconstruct and use it as as this talking point, like this entry point into how do we make better photos, stronger photos. So Agnes, can you tell me a little bit about this picture and why you made it and what was most interesting or important to you?
Yes, this boy is my son. It was on our vacation, and he had a hot chocolate, and yeah, I photographed him while he was drinking the hot chocolate, but it was nothing really interesting happened. And then yeah, he spilled a little bit of this hot chocolate, and yeah, cleaned the dirty table with his tongue. And and in this moment, I had to shoot. There were two voices in my head. One, the parenting voice, oh God, stop it, don't leave this dirty table. But I choose to listen to the photographer's voice and just shot this moment. Yeah.
I like that you override. I appreciate that you let your photo override the parenting.
Things I really love about this is you getting super close and tight and filling the frame with his face. And I love being able to see the detail. I don't know if previously you were at the park or the beach, but these little sand granules on his face are really great details. I feel like I'm really in there.
Mhm.
That being said, I don't 100% know what is happening other than he's licking a surface. And so the questions I have, just as, you know, being the viewer of the photo in terms of mentoring or teaching is there other elements of the, because what you said was I was going back and forth between being the mom and the photographer, and should I let him lick the table? Well, why wouldn't you want him to lick the table? Well, because it's a dining table out in public, right? So if that's the story, if that's like kind of what was going on in your head, do we need more information in order to articulate that visually without words, that why this is so odd that he's licking the table is because we're possibly out in public. So I just, in my mind, I'm like, I question, do we get really close in this moment? Or is that not helping to support the story or initially why we wanted to make this photo? So I immediately in my mind think, okay, I think you're sitting across from him and then you came over and got close. But if you pulled back, is there another cup on the table a bit further from him? And then maybe do we do a wide angle vertical where it's just like from here or even from here with the face licking, but that you have a longer table and maybe another full cup, and that adds to the story and that helps in terms of context. We always are going back and forth between how much and how little context or information do we need to get our story to be easily read. Jenna, I don't know what your thoughts are. Could be totally different. I don't know.
No, I totally agree. And yeah, it's like asking yourself, like, if you figure out the sentence or what you're trying to say, it helps you decide how much or what to take out, how much to put in or what to take out. A similar thing with a different way of approaching it is, so like, I love the sand on his face, but it's competing to me. I don't know whether you want me to know about the sand or the tongue in this situation. But what I'm taking from this also, or what you can take from this, is that, like, to me, there's like really good feeling to this, right? So like the closeness in the sand or whatever, to me, that means that you probably like making work that feels this way. And that maybe this moment in discussing it, maybe this moment isn't actually the perfect time to isolate that sand or like that feeling of closeness, but then you can be hyper aware of when that moment is. So maybe this is my instinct, and maybe it sounds like Kirsten agrees that context would be helpful here because that's part of what you're trying to say. So maybe this isn't the moment to come in really close and intimate, but there will be times where there are beautiful, close, like nicely lit, little detailed things on children that will stand out to you. And so you can almost go like, okay, I like this, but I'm going to use it at a different time. So it speaks a little bit to your visual voice to me, but maybe now's not the right moment. So it's like separating when to do what. Do you know? So you don't have to like reject this approach completely. It's like, where do we use it to harness the best storytelling tools? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I definitely see Jenna and I and Ash, we've all seen this with students. When things are happening, a lot of times our instinct is, oh, let's get really close, right? Like, oh my God, this is happening. And you have to fight that sometimes, because I'm a big fan of getting really close and isolating things, but also, does it help support the story? And that's all. It's just like tapping into, what am I saying? Like, what is actually I want to say here? Also, keep in mind, this is something to remember. It's hard to have, like Jenna said, competing stories saying two different things in the same photo. Sometimes you just need to split them up right? Like Jenna said, like we focus on you're interested in him licking the table. So let's tell that story first and then
Yeah.
wait for even a better moment when we then tell the story of this beautiful, like these little details with his tiny little freckles too and his long eyelashes. And we find a different moment to isolate that.
Yeah, maybe they're only 5 minutes apart, right? Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be this like one day, one thing kind of thing. Like you can definitely tell those both, but visually they do potentially need to be separated.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, very helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Agnes, for
Thanks, Agnes.
for submitting. And also I want to tell you that I had 3 girls' names that like I loved so much, and they were Francine, or Francis rather, Francis, Birdie, and Agnes. And I love your name, so I'm just letting you know.
Also, great light on your Zoom call too, I would say.
Yeah. I was thinking the
Beautifully
same.
lit.
I'm like, wow, I need some of that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Agnes.
Yeah, thank you too.
Okay. Anya?
Anya. Hold on. Let me pull Anya. I gotta type in Anya's name. Oh, I don't know if Anya's on here.
Yeah. She seems like the type that would be on video.
Anya, are you on? If you are, can you write in the chat? Otherwise, Kirsten, you can just go to Saskia for right now. Oh, there's Saskia. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Sorry. I was
Welcome.
just putting my little one to bed, so I was I feel a bit flustered, but
Oh, no problem. We understand that.
To make you feel better, I have recently had an appointment that I was meeting someone on Zoom, and I was like, just so you know, I'm talking a little faster than normal because my kid just shit in the bath. And I was like running around scooping up poop and like trying to get her out the door. It wasn't like a student, it was like a medical appointment for me. Like trying to be cool.
Everything's fine. Everything's
We feel
fine.
you is the point. Yeah, it's all good.
Okay. Saskia, can you tell me what in this moment ignited something in you to make this picture? Why this particular picture?
well, why I chose it is because I'm not sure about it. So I didn't choose it because I really love it. It's more that often when I'm at photo sessions, I notice that I take pictures and maybe looking back, I feel like, okay, maybe I could have done it a bit more exciting, like that I could have made it more interesting by the way I photographed it, or I do like quiet moments. So I somehow do like that it's a quiet moment. I like that it's a father and son. I like that this is something they do often, but then it is somehow maybe a bit too boring. I don't know how to put it. So I was just wanting to get critique to see what it is that maybe I'm missing, or yeah.
I'm going to be like a photo therapist and see if we can get you to answer all your questions for you. You know how you love that? Like pay $100 an hour for a therapist to get you to answer all your own questions. Mind you, I have a therapist, but I still pay them to do that for me. Okay. What about this is not working for you?
I think maybe it's a bit too flat or something. It just, I don't know, there's something boring about it, that maybe it's that maybe it's too safe the way the angle is, or I actually don't know, but it's somehow, I often have these moments where I come back from a shoot and it's okay and they might like it, but I'm not completely, I don't know. I do feel like it could be more interesting. I just don't know.
What do you find interesting with this space, with the two of them, what they're doing, the room they're in? What about it was interesting to you? Was there anything that sparked any interest with you?
I think also the similarity between the between the two people. So they have a similar kind of expression. You can really see it's father and son. So maybe having more, seeing that they do the chess game, but also having more of their faces probably.
Okay. Is there
Yeah.
anything about the environment that's going to support or help what you're interested in?
Something in the environment. Well,
There's no right or wrong. I'm just asking you, do you think there's anything in the environment that's going to support the similarity between the subjects?
maybe also the way they're sitting. Yeah, their expressions. Their posture.
Mhm. Symmetry is what we're talking about, right? Mirroring, the
Yes.
similarity. So for me, and then I'll let Jenna take over. For me, you've identified all the things I found interesting without this being an interesting photo, because for me, I don't think this is a picture yet. I think this is the entry point into a photo. And it's
Yeah.
going to take a lot of patience, determination, and like stubbornness on your part to get the photo if they gift it to you. There's no guarantee that your subjects are going to give you the photo, but that is the beauty and the obstacle in terms of documentary is you can't control anything other than choices you're making. So you
Yeah.
have to just wait for your subjects to be like, oh, here's a picture, right? Like you can make choices in terms of how you use the light, how you compose, what you include and don't include. But at the end of the day, anything moment driven is not about you, it's about them, right? So at least identifying what you find interesting is what I call shooting for the future. You are prepping yourself for the best possible outcome, but then you've got to be patient. So all the things you mentioned are things I'd be looking for based on what you found interesting, which is I need them to sit almost exactly the same way, or I need their body language to be almost mirroring each other. It would be really great if their facial expressions are exactly the same. The one
Yeah.
thing helping is that a chessboard is pretty symmetrical. So is there going to come a point where even that is mirroring itself? And I think all those elements need to come together in order for you to get or make that photo that's really going to like hit the nail on the head and make all of us as viewers remember that. Does all this make sense, what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, it does. Yeah. It's just that
Go
I
ahead.
think when I'm in a photo session, I don't think I sometimes maybe feel like I have to take photos or something. So I'm less. I think sometimes I'm not really aware of what it is I like about it. I just think, okay, but then I'm not like now I had to spell out what it is I actually like. But in a photo session itself, I am actually not. I don't know. I actually. I'm probably like something, but then it's only looking back that I identify it, probably.
So I'm going to regurgitate something that I thought was quite smart at the time, and I've been using a lot, that I said during a critiquing session or a teaching session with a past No More Fucking Around class. Very similar situation in terms of what the student said to me, this very similar to what you just said. And what my response was, you are not getting to the picture fast enough because you are not giving yourself permission to slow down. And while that sounds very contradictory, it's 100% true. You need to be able to give yourself permission to slow down, not worry about having to make a photo every 2 seconds, and sit with the moment, even if it feels uncomfortable, and allow yourself to stop, take pause, and just be a consumer or an observer of what's happening in front of you and start checking in with yourself. Do I find that interesting? Do I find, no, I'm listening to my body. Oh, I feel a tinge, like I feel like a pull or a draw or an excitement. Oh, I'm noticing that I'm paying attention to this. You're not allowing yourself that space to do that. And therefore you're not making photos that are intentionally yours. And that is, it's a practice. I really believe kind of like meditation, which I'm not good at, but the more you do it, the easier and the better you're going and more proficient you're going to get at it. Now I do it all the time without even realizing it, but I'm stopping all the time and breathing and listening to my body and allowing myself space and time to take in what is actually in front of me in order to find things that resonate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I just feel too scared to do that. So I feel like, oh, I have to do something like, or I missed the moment. But it does make sense that if I would stop, I would have probably framed it better and told the story better that I want to tell. And without stopping, I will not find that story probably. So yeah, it makes complete sense.
Really quick, I want to ask you, are you afraid of what they will think if you're going down and don't have the camera up to your face for every second? Or is it more, what are you afraid of exactly in that, of missing something?
Well, I think it's like twofold. Like at the one hand, I'm afraid to miss the moment. I think like, oh, if I stop clicking, it will, I will have missed it. And I think also, if I sit and stare a long time, maybe I do feel like, because I'm there for work, I do feel maybe, oh yeah, I should actually, maybe, I think it's those two things.
Right.
Yeah.
So just for the second one in particular, we can talk about the first one in a few minutes, but the second one in particular, that's also, when we're talking to Brad, we're talking about expectations and things like that. Part of that is communicating, with clients beforehand and just letting them know, I'm there, I'm kind of integrating with you, I'm observing you, I'm doing these things. So you might not see me with my camera up to my face constantly, right? That takes care of that. You've communicated it to them.
Yeah. That will take a lot of fear away, probably, if I would say. I never say that. Yeah.
Yeah, just tell them. Tell them. And you can mention it again. Or if you feel like they give you a weird look, be like, I just like to observe, pull things in. It's okay to talk during the session. So
yeah.
And to piggyback off of what just Ash said, it's great. Like, I think that's really important. Like if that's really going to be like you giving yourself permission is just to say it out loud to your clients. Also, you don't have to say it out loud. That's the only thing I was going to say. You can just shoot however you want to shoot with your process, however you want to process it without even having to do an explanation. Your fear isn't about them. They're not judging you. They're not going to judge you and wonder why the hell you're not shooting every moment. That's you being afraid of that. But that's you judging yourself. But your clients aren't going to do that. In the over now 600 family sessions I've done in my lifetime, I've never once ever experienced a client be like, "We're on shooting right now," or "Why are you doing it that way?" Like no one has ever stopped me and asked me that ever. Just to interject. Jenna, go ahead.
Okay, I've got a 5-point plan here.
Oh, 5 points.
She's at 90 points, a 90-day, 90-point plan.
Yeah. So I will say what I'm about to say, like, probably doesn't need to be said. They've covered it. But in the interest of putting things in different perspectives, and that's the advantage of hearing the same thing from different people, we're just going to go for it. And I just love to talk. So I feel like we could call this a plan for if you're afraid to face your fears or you have no idea how to. I'll try and give you some practical steps right now. So just to add to it. Okay. So 1, with the clicking, just don't trick yourself when you're clicking a bunch. Like say you can't stop shooting a ton because it's just, this confidence doesn't come overnight. Just remind yourself when you've clicked a bunch, it doesn't mean you've succeeded. So when you hear yourself clicking a lot, you go, wait, did I get it? Should I come back? Does it need more patience? Right. And I'll tell you, for me, sometimes when I start clicking a ton, it's actually the cue for me to go, oh, wait a second, you're excited. But that doesn't mean you're thinking, so I go like, you're excited. And then I slow down. So like, just hear those things and go, okay, don't give up. Okay. The second one is the permission, another way of giving you permission, which is don't be afraid to lose yourself in the moment. Like, it's not so much about like being brave or being afraid to be judged, like just get into it. Just be like, I'm just going to sit here for a bit and like really go internal and just allow yourself to go internal. The next one I had to say is similar to Brad, like a therapist, if you want to get in touch with how you feel about a moment and you're not sure that you know how you feel about it, this is something that you can practice at home all the time. It's just self-reflection. Like, how do I feel about this? You've got kids. How do I feel about this moment? What am I connected to in this moment? Just check in with yourself at different parts in the day. You don't even have to worry about how you would compose it. Just see how you feel. And if that's not coming to you, what a therapist would tell you to do is journal, right? So journaling is just the start of the act of self-reflection. So you can just start to go like, here's what I did today. You don't even have to know how you feel about it. Just start talking about what you did in your journal. So that's one option. Not everyone's going to take me up on that, but it is a powerful tool. And then lastly, I have a little cheat for you, which is another way of thinking about it, which is how do they feel about this chess game? So if I was going to push you beyond mirroring, because mirroring is cool, but what does it say beyond that, right? Unless it really says something about father-son, which it can, definitely has potential. But what's past that, right? How do they feel about each other? How do they feel about this game? Like, especially in games, how they focusing on how they feel. So even if you don't know how you feel, talk about them, like in your mind, look at how they're feeling. The irony is that, of course, how you feel about it will probably come up in your assessment of how they feel, right? And tell me a bit about that in this experience. So like, is there any point of tension where the dad thinks he's going to kick the ass of the son, you know, or like, is it very subtle in how they win or lose, right? Like some people's parents are really great at playing a game until they're losing, and then they start to become a little grumpy, even though they're full grown adults. Like, what can you tell me about this game? So as a cheat, start just thinking, and so one, not even a bad cheat, it's a great cheat. How do they feel in this moment? If you can't figure your own, try to at least figure out theirs. I think that's the end of my sticky note.
I will say really quick, that little blip on the end there where Jenna's talking about the push, in NMFA, she has a whole lesson with a toolbox of shit like that. It's really good.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of questions that we can ask ourselves in the field. Like, yeah, that helps you answer in your own voice, right? Because we have to answer these questions ourselves. So like when I say, how do they feel? How I might think they feel, it's going to be different than you, right? Like how you answer that question. And that's actually the beautiful thing. Like right now, each person here could technically put in the chat what they think the moment should be or what moment you're waiting for, but really just you, the answer that you come up with is what develops your voice. And that's what you're patient and you're waiting for. And just to like also piggyback on top of the piggybacks, or for anyone, an elephant with a hippo and a hippo sister, if anyone reads Mo Willems, I broke my trunk, is, I lost it. Shit.
Okay, great.
No, it was really good. It was good. It's about feeling and elephants. So, voice.
Helpful. Thank you so much. And also,
No, what I was going to say, wait, I figured it out, is that you will be rewarded for the patience that Kirsten is telling you to have. Okay, you will. Not every single time, but a lot of the fucking time you're rewarded. And then it's not so hard to be patient because you're like, that works. You see it. Their photos are given to you when you're prepared for them. Okay. I just want to reiterate that you have to trust that for now, but it does work.
Yeah.
That's my hippo trunk thing.
And yeah, I would love to know the name again of like your course that was mentioned just now.
Oh, no more fucking around.
Oh, no. But you said that there was like within that course there's a section.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's part of the course.
It's part of it. Yeah.
I thought it was something separate. Okay, that makes sense.
No.
All right.
She's not allowed to separate it.
Thank
you so much, Sassy, for letting us have a look at your photo.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
so hold on, let me wait. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, board games. Paula mentioned about her family doing a bunch of board games. I think board games are a great way to train yourself into hyper awareness, because
Right.
you really have to pay attention in order to find the moments within them. It's really easy to default to just moves on the game, right? When actually there's a lot more at play. And it can be quite redundant and quite boring if you do it a lot. So it's like, it's a great way to train yourself into making better images, despite the boring nature of it.
Okay. So Kirsten, you have to go, right?
I can, I think I've got like another, like 5 to 8 minutes. Yeah.
So let's talk about the course then. Yeah. Is that what's next?
Well, no, I was gonna do a business thing, but we can really, well, is there anything you want to say about the course really quick before you go, Kirsten?
It's fantastic. No, the best for me, what I really enjoy about teaching the course is working alongside Ash and Jenna. All three of us bring strengths and support where our strengths are limited. in terms of knowledge and experience. And I don't know, the other thing is I've just fallen in love with every student we've had so far. It's just, it really becomes a community. And the beautiful thing that I've seen it with other classes that I've taught, but there is a huge camaraderie in terms of support. And I think it might have to do with the breakout groups that you two create. And those groups are still meeting years past the class after it ends. And I just think it's really a beautiful part of the class. And there's so much information. I will say, I will warn people, it can be a bit overwhelming, and thank God everything is recorded and you can go back and rewatch things and digest information, because it is a lot. From shooting to business to working with your clients, to your own voice, to personal projects. I mean, it's a lot. So I would say, you're going, be ready.
It's called No More Fucking Around for a reason.
You'll be ready though. You'll be ready.
Yeah, you got
I think you're ready. You're ready.
And my philosophy has always been with any class, and this is what I put on myself as well, being a student, is you will get out of it what you put into it.
Yes.
This isn't just a vomiting of information and poof, all of a sudden you're going to be a great photographer and business person. You do have to put the work in, but however much you put in is going to be matched twice that much and then some moving forward. So
yeah. I'm joking, there's not 3 more hours. I was just gonna let them, Kirsten has to go, but I'm gonna do a business review really quick, then we'll open it up for Q&A. I know we are 40 minutes over our predicted time. We'll probably go another 30. I don't even want to put a time frame on it. Anyways, go ahead, Kirsten, I'm sorry.
No, that's it. Thanks you guys for continuing past time. And I'm looking forward to this next batch of people to work with, and to work with you all again for year 149. So
That's right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. See you later.
Oh, we're only 10 minutes over. That's great. I'm so used to us starting at like on the hour that I forgot we started at half today. So that
and the time we came in early, so the time is running long on our.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm like, why did I think I was like, oh my God, we're like, this is gonna be like a 9-hour class. No. Okay, so let's see.
Yes, you can still sign up.
Megan, yes. Megan, you better join us. I'm obsessed with you. Seriously, I'm like obsessed. Okay. So hi, I'm scared to try and pronounce her,
it's Ugne.
Ugne. Okay, that's what I was gonna say. But then I was like, what if the G is silent or the
It's not. You just read out loud everything you see.
Good. Okay. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do with Ugne is we're going to do a business / website review. Well, kind of whatever you want. So we'll be talking through that. I had a quick look at your website. I didn't get much of a chance to look at it last night, but I had a quick look, and I noticed that, what is it? You're in Lithuania? Is that right?
It is, yes, Lithuania.
But your website is bilingual, right? So English and Lithuanian, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
Look at me. So yeah, I think it'll be really interesting. It'll be really good. Also, because I know that one of the biggest things that comes up is culturally and across the board with things like business and documentary family photography and there's often questions like, oh, well, I don't think this will work in my region or my area. And one thing that is really inspiring, first of all, but second of all, really awesome, is that from what we can tell with, photographers and people who are able to hone in on the voice and get their marketing right and do all of these things, that it doesn't matter where you live. You can still connect with people and using this type of photography, or any type. I mean, we have students who do weddings, we have whatever. A lot of what we talk about here is foundational, and then going to that next level of, like Jenna said, pushing yourself to that next level to, get yourself out there. So tell me a little bit about your business as it is. How long have you been in business? What do you get clients? All of that kind of stuff.
Calling it a business is probably too big a word. I wouldn't do that. I do have 2 paying clients. They both came back to me.
Perfect.
But that's it. I did a lot of sessions already, but that's a struggle. It's like, well, and I'm quite new in this, like in photography as a business. Photography was always part of my life, but I never, I have a full-time job, which has nothing to do with photography. So 2 years ago, I believe, I thought that, well, maybe it's time to do something like, on weekends. I really like it. I really love it. So I started.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's very, very slow.
Very
really
slow.
slow. Yeah.
Okay. And if you were to look at, what would your ideal situation be? Do you want to keep this as kind of like a side thing, or would you eventually, I know some people have a job or a career outside of this, and they're like, my main goal is to eventually transition completely to photography and get rid of my other job.
I don't have it as a goal. My goal is to keep not necessarily the job I have now, but I want to have both.
Okay.
I want to be both places.
Yeah, that's okay.
I have a feeling that the moment I'm fully in photography, I'm sure I'll start worrying too much, or maybe I'll get tired, I think.
Right.
Of it.
What?
I don't know. I like the balance I have now. What I don't like is how slow it goes. But maybe, having in mind that I only started I can't even say I'm 2 years in. Probably
wow.
a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's probably okay that it is slow.
Yes.
yeah. And
but
you
I
have to
sometimes
remember,
want it to go faster.
yeah, you have to remember we've been in a pandemic. That's another big thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we're kind of probably coming out. Well, I don't know what we're doing with the pandemic stuff, but as far as I understand, and as far as I've seen with my own photography business, where in the past prior to the pandemic, I was used to always being booked out at least 6 months in advance to going to nothing. And then even coming out of the pandemic, my business is now starting to pick up again, of where I'm at that point where shit, I have a lot of photos to edit. I have a lot of sessions backed up here. I need to get a move on it. So what do you feel like is your biggest struggle? Is it pulling in the clients? Is it feeling, confident, or what do you feel your biggest struggle is?
I think the region I'm in is the biggest struggle. The concept itself is really new. I have an audience, but I'm not sure that that's the right audience.
Okay.
It is the right audience. I have a bit quite and okay, I would say audience of parents probably are my main people, I have to work with, but I don't think I have people who can pay the price I want to get in that audience. So
Okay.
I like really struggle with that.
Okay. So one thing I'm going to mention really quick on just the thought process of like pay and how that works. There's a few things, and people who have worked with me when it comes to pricing and what people can pay and money mindset and all of that. It's like one of my favorite topics because I find it's just super interesting. And yeah, I've been, I guess, quote unquote, studying it for a very long time. Is one of the biggest things you have to learn is that we cannot put our own ideas on what people can or can't pay, because being in business for the amount of time that I've been, I have had clients across various spectrums of backgrounds. So people who maybe do not earn as much as I think they, or as much as I think my quote unquote ideal client needed to earn, versus people who have earned a lot of money. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things is if people want this, once they understand what it is, once you can discuss it and really be able to clearly articulate and talk about what you do, why you do it, and why should they care, money becomes less of an issue because people will value it. And like I said, they will have, I've had numerous times in my, since owning a business, I was going to say in my career, where people have said, oh, I saved for this, right? So like they decided to save up X amount of money to be able to have a session with me. Or, oh, I've really wanted this for a long time. Is there something that you can do for me to help me afford it? I'm like, yeah, I offer payment plans. So those kind of things, and it takes time to get through that. That's like a block that we have a lot of times with our work. But it's not our job to decide if people can pay for it or not. We just want them to understand the value behind it. And when I'm talking about value, I don't necessarily mean just financially. I also mean the value of how it's going to impact their life today with what you can give them, right? Because that we can easier get people to pay what we need to earn in order to sustain a business, whether that's a part-time business or a full-time business. Oh, I thought you were waving by. I'm like,
No, no. I want to talk.
Go ahead. Okay, go for it.
No, I think that that is all just perception, and you have a unique opportunity like in your region. If it's not popular in your region, then you be the person that provides this, right? And if it's saturated in your region, then hone your voice so that you're the best one, right? But you have an opportunity here to lead the charge. People will pay you for stuff that they desire. Like you get obsessed with something and you want it, people will pay for that. But the most important thing is to me, and I know Ash is going to agree, is if you don't believe it's worth the money that you're charging, your clients are never going to believe it because you're not embodying that belief. So you need to be connected, really connected to the value that this is that this provides for other people. And it really does, right? Like family photography is so meaningful. And it's like literally the thing that people grab when their house is on fire. Like we value this so much more than the TVs and screens that we spend so much money on. And so like just start comparing it to how you spend money elsewhere, right? Like people upgrade their TVs how often for what? Just to like, you know what I mean? Like just to burn their own eyes out. But
Right.
Photographs are meaningful and tell you about your loved ones and celebrate this time in your kids' lives. Like, and that's less valuable than this TV. It's like we work on this in the class is like really getting connected in your own way to why this matters and what you're doing, why what you're saying matters. So truly I believe a lot of it really is perspective. And that's obviously what Ash is saying too, with the money mindset stuff, is that changing, you have to really change your mind about what you're doing and how you feel about it. But yeah, you definitely can't expect, you can't predict what people will spend money on. Don't choose it for them because it will surprise you. How
I surprise myself all the time on
Yeah.
what I spend money on. If anybody knows from our previous classes, there's been a few times I'm like, well, this thing just showed up and I apparently spent, 80 euro on a flamingo that I have no recollection of buying.
Right. It's just, I mean, it's economics, it's demand, right? Like, it's just,
Mhm.
if you're worth what people are willing to pay. So,
Right.
so that's really, it's just a shift in that.
It's a
And so
mindset.
all of this is possible.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be, it doesn't have to be dictated completely by your the region or like ideas that you have on the local economy, do you know?
Right. You want to know
Um,
something, and this is just a really quick offshoot, is I was watching Real Housewives of New York while I was editing. Whenever I'm editing, I have to have something kind of like playing, whether it be music or a TV show or whatever, but it can't be something too interesting. Otherwise, I'm distracted and I'm watching it. So I had the Real Housewives of New York yesterday, and I had noticed there was this painting in one of their penthouses or apartments or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I love that painting. And like, it's maybe not that spectacular, but I loved it. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, I got to find this painting. And I pulled it up and it was $24,000. Like this, let me see if I can find it really quick. But what's ridiculous is suddenly I started thinking about how I can get this painting. Sorry. And when I show it to you, you guys are going to throw up because I'm sure it's not even that great. Oh, I'm sorry, $27,000. Hold on one second. And why would I like suddenly start considering this is it here? Hold on. This right here. Can you see that? So it's anywhere, and like, I'm like, I wonder, like, why do I want this? And the fact that it cost like $30,000 or more made me want it even more, which is so stupid. Anyways, I'm just showing you how ridiculous people can be over weird things. And this is something that isn't that strange photography. So
No,
just
it's valuable and meaningful.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
Like-
Yeah, well, I wasn't saying that, you know, I don't believe in my worth. I know my worth, and I'm not, you know, questioning it. But I still like, I feel that here in my country, people spend bigger amounts of money on photography probably once in their lifetime, usually for weddings, and they don't really, they don't understand what, how a family photo shoot can cost, you know.
Right.
Mm.
So the
Probably it's like still some job to be done, like in
Right.
communicating the worth, and I'm
But it's
not really
not
doing that.
impossible.
yeah.
Mm.
So there's a couple things that go into it. The first is being able to clearly articulate the value of what you do. So like Jenna was saying, the more you can talk about what you do and why you're doing it and why people are caring and all of that, they will start to understand the value of that more. But it needs to be very clear. The second thing, what was the second thing? Oh, it may very well be because it's so new, you have to have some kind of point of entry to getting a session with you. So like, I know for a lot of us, like an ideal situation is to have full days in the life all the time. And for someone who hasn't experienced this, they might not be able to even imagine what that would look like or the value of what that could be. So if you can bring clients in and show them on like a shorter session, and then like you said, the 2 clients you have, they've come back again, right? So you know they like it. Once they're in the door, that's when you can kind of bring them on to these bigger sessions. So there's a few ways to do it. The other thing is really take advantage of the fact that you're the only one that's doing this in your area. For the longest time, I was the only birth photographer and documentary photographer in my area, and big, huge letters on my website. It's like Jenna's original first birth photographer. Like I was owning that. I'm like, heck yes, I'm taking it. Okay. So really quick, I'm going to show your site. Oops, nope, that's not it. That's the bunny picture. Okay, give me one sec. here we go. So, let's see. Can everyone see, can you guys see it on your side? I just want to make sure. Jenna?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So you have the pictures, parenting and all that jazz. So that's like your tagline, right?
Yeah, it
Parenting
is.
and all that jazz, cute. And then you have your little information here, and right away your services. So everything they need is already kind of on there. I'm just going to click through really quick to have a look. Oops. There we go. So I'm not going to make any comments on the photos, just in general. At first, I'm just talking about the site itself. I think it's interesting how you have this moving through here for these types of sessions. The only thing is if people are clicking through like this, they might at some point stop kind of clicking. So that's one thing to consider just off the top of my head while I'm looking at this. And then how do you get, is there a way to, and the other thing is I'm not sure if you can put like buttons here, but instead of having to use the back button. So one of the biggest things you can do with your website is you have to remember when people get on here onto a website, they're looking for how to go from one place to the next. And it's your job to guide them on that journey of going from one place to the next. So where do you want them to go, right? So from the homepage here, it's really great. You have, a call to action, this book a session, but we also need to have, oh, you do have here, my work, etc. I would add in, I'm trying to think, I might not right away have book a session right here. I would probably, unless that's what, I think that people are going to need to see your work first before they just go straight to book a session, right?
Yeah,
So
do you know why? Because can I expand on why
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
If you go right to book a session and you have all the prices laid out, they're only going to look at the dollar number.
Exactly.
Right now, I'm only deciding if I can afford what you offer. I'm not in love with you yet. I don't know what your portfolio is yet. There's no like hook. So don't skip over the hook, like get them obsessed before you say this is what it costs, right? Because otherwise it's just $1 that I may or may not have to spend on you. And I don't know why I'm going to spend it on you.
That's
So I
right.
think it's really important to hook them in.
So exactly that. The other thing, and again, this is something that students sometimes complain about, but they get over it once they understand the meaning behind it. We need to know more about what it is you're doing. So you have documentary family photography, parenting, and all that jazz. Like, what does that mean? And that's where you need to tell them, like, what is parenting and all that jazz, right? Like, why parenting and all that jazz? Why should they care? And that can be little phrases you come up with. That could be
Testimonials, even.
Yeah, exactly. Anna, I'm going to pull up your website really quick. I can see your face on here, and Anna does Anna went through and worked with it with us, and you can see it doesn't necessarily have to have this many words on here, but you can see what happens is people can easily skim. So even if they're not reading everything, what we're doing is she has right here exactly what it is she's doing. Photographer for Free Spirit Hearts, right? And then moving on from there, telling other things.
Really
What's that?
Your screen is really small, Anna said.
Oh, it is?
Or they see it small. Oh, not for you guys? Okay, it's big for me too. Just you then, Anna.
Oh, sorry, Anna. And then highlighting or bolding other important information. So those are the kinds of things you can think about. Again, you don't necessarily have to have as much text on your website, but what you want to remember is the more text you do have on your homepage that is relevant to what they're doing, the better it's going to be for your SEO and your Google ranking and all of that stuff. So you want to have at least a little more of something here on here. The other thing is we don't have any location on here, so I don't know where you work.
Right.
Like, are you serving all of Lithuania? Are you, you know, just for your town, your area? Where are you doing this? And yeah, that's really
I did this on purpose. I don't want to be, you know, only limited to Lithuania. And I don't know.
so you want to
You can say
travel,
available world, you can say that, but you need to maybe say that.
right? So it could be like, I don't know what the main city there is or whatever someone would be Googling. So like in my case, I'm just going to use my town, for example. I live in a town called Jenna. So I know someone's going to Google Jenna family photographer or whatever, right? And so those are the things I'm putting on my website to make sure I pull for that. But not only does it say Jenna family photographer, it says and available worldwide.
Yeah.
Right. So people know if they stumble upon my website, I'm getting people locally. I also have added a couple other cities in there that are like surrounding me where I want to work or where I have worked, but I have on there all the places that I'll service.
Because that's one thing you do actually, oddly enough, have to spell out for people. There's all kinds of people that are like, I would just love to hire you, but I don't live there. I'm like, well, we travel. And then they go, oh, and they have all kinds of money to spend on that. But some people just don't think of it.
Right. Or you can put on here, will travel.
Yeah.
I'll come see you.
Yeah.
So basically though, one of the, hold on, I'm just looking here. One of the main things I'm going to tell you to do though, is on this homepage, you want to have people guided to these other kind of sections and information, right? So under your headline here, it could be talking about going into the galleries. Is this families you photograph? So these are like blog posts. Sorry, I'm just going to click really quick. Whoops. How does this work?
Oh, you
yeah,
have to click
sorry.
and
Yeah, I see it. My Zoom was covering the bottom. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Cute. Yeah, so the biggest thing is going to be making sure all of this can link easily back together, or how do they get back if they're here? How can they get back to your website? What happens if they click here? Is there a way to, is this through what's it called? Like a gallery? Yeah, like a gallery proofing site, or is this?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I'll have
That's
to
okay.
check.
Yeah, so that's something to look into. But I would, if possible, I would have as much as you can on your own website, because we don't want to direct them away. You want people staying on your site as long as possible.
And that's where they get back to the book a session button, right? So like you have to be near that. Once they're in love, you want to be really close and make it easy for them to contact you. Whereas if we go too far away, then it's too far to go back. And apparently we're quite lazy as a species and we're getting lazier. So we got to make it really easy.
That's right. So ideally, this would all be on your actual website. So as soon as they see a session, they could be like, oh yeah, I love that, booking now, or whatever, or maybe it's find out more. And the other thing here is there's no real description of what, again, I'm just mentioning this, of what it is you're doing. So, you know, even having the homepage, but if we look here on Anna's site, just really quick, I'm gonna guess, you can see here that when we go to her about, she's talking about what it is she's doing. So your story is worth it, or sorry, Anna, your story is worthy, and all of that good stuff. And people are able to understand what it is she does. So family sessions, the details, right? Adding a little more information can go a really long way on a website.
I'm so bad with it.
With
I
the
really
Don't
writing
be
stuff?
discouraged.
writing.
It's the future, right? You just started doing this,
Yeah.
right? You have a website. Some people have been doing it for years with no website at all.
That's
Right.
right.
So
Do
this is
not be
great that this
discouraged
exists.
at all. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Here's
like if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can just start to make a list of like, okay, what's most important for me to add? And you can slowly work through this, right? Like one of the most important things I would say is listing your location. You just go in and do that on day one, you know, and then you can go back and go, okay, now I'm going to work on this aspect. Now I'm going to work on this aspect, you know. It doesn't have to be overnight for you.
Right.
Sorry, I interrupted you by accident. What were you going to say?
No, you're totally fine. Like Jenna was saying, people take a long time with their websites, which is no problem. That's how it is. What I do think is really great is that you actually have something.
Yep.
Like, I know a lot of times we have like wait until we have things perfect. So at least you have something up there where people could easily go and at least look at your photos. If you said, hey, go check out my website, right? If you meet someone, you know, at the park, their kids are playing whatever, they're like, oh, what do you do? And you say, oh, I make family photos. And you can say, check out my website. So they actually have somewhere to land and go to. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You're like,
so it's about improving it,
halfway
right?
there.
Just improving it for the future.
Right. So, yeah, so the other thing to consider, like Jenna said, starting with the first thing is adding your location. The second thing that I would do is just start to think a little bit about how you want people to experience your website, where you want them, what is the most important information that they know about this. So again, it's what you do, you know, it says here you're a documentary family photographer, but what does that mean? Right? So having like a little chunk about that and why they should care. So what value is it going to bring to their life? And then with your tagline, I love it. I love parenting and all that jazz. I think it's really catchy and cute and sweet, but maybe having a little blurb even about what that means with parenting and all that jazz.
And then I'll speak for me and Kirsten, because I'm pretty sure this is what she would say if she was here, which is, this is, and I know that Ash will be the same, is the parenting and all that jazz is great, but we're not looking at any parents here. So
Right.
I'm curious as to whether you resonate with photographing from the parent's perspective or the child's perspective the most, like what really speaks to you. So for example, some people just aren't interested in parents and they just call their galleries kids. And that's a great way of like funneling your clients towards what you're actually going to provide. I do shoot from the parents' perspective the most, probably, like that's what I resonate with, and a lot of my work does that. What you're showing is kind of a mix here. There's parents buried in your website, but a lot of it is kids right now. So maybe it's just about highlighting more. I think you have something in here. If you are really connected to the parenting aspect, then maybe starting out your website with like some kind of deep emotional connection between the parents and the kids so that we can resonate with that as a stranger. So like right away, I'm connected to the idea that you're going to capture my parenting. If that is what speaks to you beyond just the words may have just come to you and sounded good. So it's hard for me to say, you decide that for yourself. But this would be an example of making your voice and your branding come together, like having voice in your branding, and then also making sure your photographs reflect what you're saying and vice versa.
Right. Exactly. And that's exactly right. So I think we talked about that a little bit in the beginning when we were talking about voice, is we'll see something on a website and the words don't exactly match what it is that the photos are showing, right? And it doesn't mean that every single word has to match every single photo. It's just when we have something that big, we do need to have a connection.
Maybe I have some issues with the language. I thought that parenting is, it's not only about the parents, it's like the process of all this mess that happens when you have kids. I don't have kids. I'm not looking at it from parent perspective, but and probably the whole story of this, like why parenting, it's because in Lithuanian, when I started to like looking for clients, I started a Facebook page and I called it, I don't know, in English it would be probably surviving parenting, parenthood.
Mhm.
It doesn't really sound well in English, but it does sound well in Lithuanian. And it really somehow helped me to get attention. And it's not like really about parenting. So maybe I have to think about something else in English.
Well,
just
I think
thought
it
that-
can. I think it can work. Absolutely.
I think
It's
it can
just
too.
Go ahead, Jenna. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, it's just this first image, just
It's just this one.
So you suggest to change an image. That's something where we have.
I think so.
So
Just
there's a
because it's the
parent on it.
beginning, it's the first entry point. You know, it's just like it's not like Ash was saying, not every word everywhere has to match like word for picture as much as like you're also, because you're expressing that it's not popular in your genre and you're going to have to convince people to go for the thing. You're going to have to work really hard to make sure that you across the board have this very convincing argument visually and with words too, right? So just like hitting them over the head with it, like when they get there is what I want you to do, you know, so like they connect immediately. So I don't think you have to ditch those words at all. It's just that making it like really connect between the two, especially in the beginning, is important.
I wanted to use Christine Wright's website as an example. So her tagline on here is "Real is powerful," right? That's great. And that photo is actually speaking to it, because this little one is like jumping and, you know, it's almost like a superhero type thing. So just making sure that there's some correlation there with what those main words are. The rest of the photos, okay, you know, you're just showing a body of your work. But that first image, and I think just in general, that for the very first image, it needs to be something really, you know,
emotionally impactful.
Yeah.
To convince them, like, right, we're hooking people right away.
Thank you for finishing my sentence. My brain's not working.
Sorry, is that okay?
No, it's working great for me.
Yeah.
Because suddenly you know what happens to me after a certain time of night in Germany, I'm like, oh.
Well, I also have worked with you now, so I know what you're going to say.
That's right. For 100.
And I'm actually 1 hour ahead of you, ahead of Germany. So
oh, you are? Oh
better.
my gosh.
I'm
I'm sorry.
Well,
I
I
should
don't
have
know
done you
about
first.
okay.
We
Yeah.
should have done you first. Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay. So just overall, those are the little changes that you can make. For everyone that's watching right now, I think the biggest takeaway here is that your homepage, there I go hiccuping again. The function of it is to show people what it is you do and to try and keep them engaged in your site. And you have the opportunity to guide them on the journey of where you want them to go, page for page for page, right? So really considering that and thinking about how you can take them from one step to the next. So like you can see Christine did it here, where these are brand statements we worked on when she was a student of mine. And then she goes into, you know, exactly what it is. So like, what are you looking for? Are they looking for motherhood stories with birth, blah, 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 families, or celebrations? Because she does events too. Then she has a bit here about Christine. So she has all these different ways to navigate her website. And then not only that, but all the ways up here. Right? So there's multiple ways and there's enough information there. There are numerous ways you can plan out your site. Like I said, it doesn't have to have a ton of words necessarily. It just has to have the most important information and keep their interest long enough. Unfortunately, just photos alone aren't enough, because there's so many great photographers out there that you need to sometimes be able to articulate what it is you're doing exactly for them, so that they're not booking on price or on, you know, oh, well, this person lives really close to me, I guess I'll book them. You want to pull them in with your photography as well as the words that you can write on your website.
I've started taking pottery classes, and one of the things the teacher is saying pottery is front load the work, like the first day of throwing. Like, yes, you can trim away all this extra stuff on the later days with your pots, but you want to front load it. And I feel like your website can do that for you, right? So front load the work for yourself. So by the times the client has called you or has gotten in touch with you, they're already kind of in love and they're fairly convinced that you're the one, right? But if you need to talk to them in order to explain what you're doing, that's going to be tough, because how do you get them to call you? How do they know that talking to you is going to convince them, right? So like front load it, make it easier on yourself, and let's get them right away. And you, like Ash is saying, control the flow and control the experience, and really allow them to dig deep into what you have to offer.
And then the other thing is once you have more clients, or even the 2 clients you already have, ask those clients what their experience was with you and put their little quote or testimonial on your website so people can see, hey, people have actually worked with her. They enjoy this. This was the experience that they had. This is what they got out of it, right? And don't be afraid to ask those 2 clients that you've had to refer you for work. So as we were talking about, one of the best things you can do for your business is, in the beginning, it is hard. You're pulling in clients, you're trying to get in new clients, you're trying to be all these places, all of that. But eventually the ideal situation is that you have all of your new clients are coming in from your old clients, and your old clients are repeat clients. So you don't have to work as hard, right? It becomes the system, like a cycle of referrals, but it takes a little bit of time to get there. And being able to have things like testimonials on your website is what shows people that authority. So if someone does refer, they're like, oh, my friend Janet referred me. Oh, there's Janet's testimonial. She loved it. That's great. Like she said, it's just reconfirming to people again and again that they should get in touch with you.
Yeah. So the good news is there's lots of options for you. Yeah. So you're not going to be just stuck, which is good.
No, not at all.
Thanks for showing us your site.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is great.
thank
Like I said, just a few little things. Start thinking about it. So I can look at your face. Thank you. Just take it day by day, one step at a time. Like Jenna said, make a list, things you have to do, what's most important to get done now, and take it step by step. You'll do fine. No, you'll do fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate all the words. Thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thanks for everyone who shared, because it's quite scary.
Yeah,
To
totally.
share in a big group, I think, for a lot of people.
So, okay, I'm gonna unpin, remove, hold on. Yep. Remove, there we go. So really quick, Jenna and I are just gonna talk NMFA. Don't hang up, because you can ask me any questions and I have a answer to some questions that were asked here.
Every time Diana takes a picture, I want to pose and smile.
Who was taking a picture?
Diana, I can see, and it makes me go like, "Oh no, you're not smiling enough." 1 second, let me just.
Wait, how do you know Diana's taking a picture?
Well, her screen's on.
I know, but taking a picture of what? Of us?
Us, yeah.
No, I've been sitting here with a double chin. I am slurring now, Diana. Slurring. My face is swollen still from my surgery last week.
Well, whatever. I'm smiling. So.
And it's like, well, at least I look good. Keep going, Diana. Keep going. Okay, so really quick. No more fucking around.
I like to watch the gallery in the classes. The galleries.
Is that my phone ringing or yours? Oh my God, hold on. Oh, hold on. I thought for a second it was Kirsten Lewis calling me, but it was my best friend in America is named Kirsten Lewis.
Yes, I know, that's wild to me.
Yeah. So I was like, wait, why is Kirsten calling? But it wasn't. I just ignored her call. Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Really quick. I just want to show you.
Thanks for hanging on, everybody that's still here.
Yeah, that's awesome. You all are great. So this is ideally what happens. No, this is what happens, not ideally. With no more fucking around, kind of the process that we guide you through is the whole thing is really honing in on that voice. And not only that, but your mindset around your business, your photography, your confidence. Well, I don't necessarily like to say confidence. We've talked about that before, but how you're showing up, your courage. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. How you're showing up in the world and, you know, feeling as good as you can about that. And even if you're feeling nervous, showing up anyway. So being able to get clear on things like your photographic voice allows you to do that. And that's why we start with that process of honing in on photographic voice, figuring out where your mindset is there anything blocking you from moving forward with your photography, from moving forward with your business, from creating the proper balance between the two, all of that kind of stuff. So we work on that. And from there, it feeds into you having the courage in the way you're seeing the world, the way you're showing up in the world. And then you're putting your best work out there with your true voice, not replicas or variations of other people. And you're putting it in front of people who will be drawn into your work based on your own unique perspective. From there, you will attract clients, editors, opportunities, etc. by showing up. So this isn't to say that, oh, you know, you have to have a business with your photography. It's to say, maybe you would like your work to be, you know, purchased for commercial work or commercial clients or, you know, whatever it is, stock. I don't know. And then comes this ripple effect of referrals, testimonials, exhibits, awards, jobs, and more clients. So this is after having taught together for the last 194 years. This is what we see from our students who go through our program and put in the work and continue to show up the way they need to. Is there anything you want to say about this?
Yeah, you know what? I do. Surprise.
Shocked.
One thing I want to say what I'm proud about in the class. And also just like, anyway, have a little mini discussion. Like, I don't love a lot of stuff that's like, in fact, I despise things that are marketed to women in the like, you know, dress in your wow colors and you'll you know, improve your life kind of bullshit. That's actually from a feminist thing they gave advice to men. But anyway, because anything that seems targeted at women, I hate. So like some of these words that we use are a little bit of that genre, like, you know, believing in yourself, blah, blah, blah. What I don't like is generic. I've been to a lot of conferences, a lot of education that's like, be yourself, do this, have your own voice, whatever. But and we're saying the exact same thing. But here's the difference. I think that we have broken this down quite well and it is articulated and we know how to push for it. And like, I'm not talking about, I mean, like literally broken down, you know what I mean? Like the courses from Ashley are very intensive. Like you actually have lots of questions to answer, you have lots of specific things to think about, and they all compile or compound from each other, right? So we all start from the inside out. So you answer question 1 is going to affect month 10, you know what I mean? They all go together and they work together. And in photography, like when we're talking about photography and voice, like with me, you're going to answer a lot of fucking questions when you're shooting, right? So it's not just like, okay, go in there and see how you feel. It's like, let's figure out actually how you feel and how this is affecting you actually. And then I feel like we push really hard. We know how to push to pull that out of you. And it's not just bullshit, you know? Whereas like when you talk about it as an overall thing, it sounds a little bit like, you know, again, like, how do you be yourself? But actually, I think we know how to help you. And I'm really proud of that. Like,
yeah, that's true.
Bullshitty approach to growing your voice and becoming the best version of who you are, and not just being like light a candle and feel good about yourself.
Yeah, you know what I think the other thing is with it is that there's the room in here to allow for all types of like learning styles, and not only that, but working styles, whether that be working on your photography or your artwork. If I have pen on my face. Sorry, I just noticed it's like pen all over me. But I think one of the biggest things, especially when it comes to the business side of things, one thing that makes me always want to like barf is you hear these really idealistic versions of business. Like, oh my gosh, all you have to do is show up and put yourself out there. And, you know, and like, it sounds so great. And I always say I'm the hot mess express. And if I can actually have a successful photography business pre-pandemic, like I said, it's picking up again now, but a successful photography business in a country where it is my second language, like that I learned how to speak German when I didn't know how to speak a word of it when I moved here when I was 25, and I started my business about 4 years after I moved here. And by no means, I've been here for 12 years now, and by no means is my German perfect, but I can still run a great business. And that doesn't mean I do every single thing perfectly. So one of the biggest things you'll learn in No More Fucking Around when it comes to the business stuff is that there's going to be certain things that you're like, that doesn't seem like the way I can do it for me, or it doesn't fit my life. And there's always another way or another version, or like, what do they say in yoga? Like I'm not a yoga person. Clearly I'm very into yoga, but there's like the really hardcore version. And then they say, if you need like something for a little lighter, then do it this way. And so that's kind of what the offer is there until you're ready to push yourself more, or you say, oh, you know what, this is working really well for me.
Well, or sometimes, like, just to word that differently, sometimes pushing yourself is actually recognizing how you approach things and just not fighting yourself so much on it, right? So if you're someone who like gets stuck on like if you have 2 social media accounts and then, if you have 1 social media account, you're supposed to do family and wedding and you never post on it because you can never blend them together, then fucking separate it. You know what I mean? Like, don't fight it because you think you have to do this one idea. And if you hate 2 separate accounts, put them together. You know, like that's just a more practical example. If you are like, I don't know, if you're never going to write back within 24 hours, then you have some kind of thing that says, I will get back to you in 48 hours on your email. Like there are ways around the way that we block ourselves. And with help, we can figure out what those things are and we can adjust for them.
I love that you mentioned that with the ways to block. Like I'll use myself as an example of, so in Germany, from the months of like October, like starting now, or the end of October through usually May, but like I know that from November through January, I do not do very well with my photography, not because I'm not getting clients, like clients are still calling me, but my problem is because it's dark outside. I get that winter blues, like that winter depression, and I'm in hibernation mode. I don't want to hang out with a lot of people. I'm not feeling inspired. I don't want to go out. So I specifically am able to block out in my business that in November through January, I don't work as much outside with clients. I'm working in those months for the following year, like prepping what my year is going to look like for the next year. And for some people, they're like, oh, that sounds miserable staying inside. For me, I'm like, I don't want to see anyone because I'm a grumpy bitch when it's, no, I'm not really grumpy, but I'm, I just am like hibernation mode. I'm just not in the mood to go photograph a bunch of people. So it's being able to make those little tweaks of figuring out how this will work for me. What kind of turnaround time do I need for my clients to get their photos in, or whatever.
Yes, you can't turn around in 2 weeks. Don't say it.
Exactly.
Say 10 to 12.
And there's no right or wrong with that.
Exactly.
Oh, one thing I wanted to mention here, just like in general with the pandemic, I know a lot of people have felt discouraged about it, but one thing I have noticed is that there's been a huge shift in how important photos are. I think they've always been important and people have realized that they're extremely important. But I think with people being home and living their everyday life and all of these, a lot of people have been taking more of those quote unquote everyday photos. And so there's been this shift in how important they feel about normal life. And so now is the time to really put yourself out there if you want to, and say, hey, I can do this for you. You can be in the photos too, like all of those kinds of things. Okay, moving on. Oh, this is a photo from one of our students. It's our little thing here. So no more fucking around. Just a quick little checklist. Jenna, do you want to explain any of this?
No, you go ahead. You did the slides, but you better do it.
Okay.
Or I guess I can. Sure, I can do it. I love a surprise. Basically, like what this says is that we get together every week. So we rotate months. So you'll have Ash in the first month, you'll have Kirsten on the third or second, and me on the third, and then it rotates as such throughout the year. So every week you'll have somebody, and you also have monthly one-on-ones, and that rotates who you're with. So you'll have me every 3 months, Ash every 3 months, for example. We also build accountability groups within the group. So if you're unable to do this, it is kind of optional, except for the odd assignment. But what we've done is that we've built like breakout groups within the class. And so then you have people to like literally to hold you accountable and to build close relationships with, so that you experience a more intimate version of what you're going through, and you have support, right? So when you're struggling, or somebody to remind you, sometimes it's a matter of like, hey, we're in class today, or like, where are you? You know, or like, hey, can you take a look at these photos before I submit them? But also I've built assignments into the accountability group so that people are working together. And that also when you leave the class, you're not on your own, because that's the thing, is that we need a support network, right? The class is not, you don't have 3 mentors for the rest of your life, but although it's nice for that year, we want you to be able to go and be in the world efficiently and
I should have wrote that 3 mentors. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
I always forget you're getting 3 mentors.
3 of us, you're getting a lot of perspective and 3 different ways of looking at, like, often a similar approach for sure, but different ways of wording it. Do you know? So like if you are someone that really resonates with a quick hardcore assessment, it goes well with Kirsten. If you need someone to explain it 8 different ways, that works well for me, you know, like there's these different ways of approaching the same ideas. And then on you made the slide, but I just love that doing an improv now on this slide, but also we're discussing, it's called No More Fucking Around, and it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of candid moments. So it's just like a really fun way to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, being together so much, you get a good feel for everyone. So I'm just gonna really quick, lesson 1 is this, oops, I spelled that wrong. Introspection. I'm going to cover that. Introspection, mindset, purpose, goals, and habits. Lesson 2 is without reservations, shooting for you. So each lesson, I mean, obviously there's multiple kind of little lessons that go in each month, but you know, each month has a new lesson or a focus. And at the end, the result is that they all work together for this like complete package of you showing up to kick some ass. And not only that, but I think one of the biggest things about taking classes, workshops, programs, whatever courses, is that sometimes you can get information and you don't really do anything with that information. The idea behind the entire program is that throughout you're getting each portion so that you're able to break it down and actually implement what you're being taught. So at the end, you leave with all this stuff, like, you know, like how do you explain that, Jenna? My brain is
yeah. Well, and the other thing, I mean, yeah, just let's implement it. You're able to implement it. And it makes sense. It's not just arbitrary kind of concepts. The other thing is that the assignments, like the photo assignments, for example, if you do every assignment at the end of the year, you have, you know, a lot of options for basically to rework your entire portfolio, right? So you're like building in accountability to make new work, which is something it's really hard to do on your own.
Right. So, but basically, you know, every 3 months, like I said, this would be me, and then comes Kirsten, then comes Jenna. So, but basically every 3 months or every quarter, I guess that would be, you know, you're getting some kind of result already. I think every month people feel like they walk away with a result. All of this is on our website where you can like read this more in depth. I'm not going to read word for word how this goes. I just want to point out one of the biggest things that comes up always is this pricing. And there's a couple people who've already, well, a lot of people who've taken my Earn Some Damn Money pricing and sales course. It's something I'm really proud of. And it was the first course, but pricing and sales course in the photography industry to teach about money mindset. Should add that to the website. But anyways, but what's really interesting is, again, it's not telling you one simple way to price everything, because there is no right or wrong way. It's telling you cold hard facts and the pros and cons of pricing your work each way. In-person sales versus non-in-person, like there's no right or wrong way to do things. So I just wanted to point that out. And then ideally, what ends up happening is you have this big portfolio review at the end with a global understanding of voice and your website marketing and communication to go along with it. When we say website, don't be afraid if you already have a website. We will get in there and tear it up unless you had like a really amazing designer, but you'll update it with all of your new portfolio stuff, any new brand, well, a lot of new branding stuff that you have. So when we talk about branding, just really quickly, we have, we're not talking about just your logo and the visuals that go with it. The branding is your voice. So the things we're talking about and the statements that go along with your work, that is your brand, whether you're doing it for getting family clients or you're doing it to pull in, you know, or get noticed as an artist, your voice becomes your brand. So
Do you see Hindy's little note here?
no, I didn't. Oh, thank you, Hindi. Yes, earn some damn money. I made 4,300 on my first session from learning how to price with Ash. That's right.
That's a good testimonial.
That is a good one. I'm going to copy and paste it right now onto the website. Oh yeah. So really quick, what we have is enrollment by Monday, and you can, we already have, you know, enrollment has been open, but we have some spots left. And so we have these bonuses for people who have enrolled to this point up through Monday. So you have until then to figure it out. But you get your DFP contract of your choice. We have various contracts available, all ranging in different values. It's totally up to you. Most expensive one is €329. You get that for free. So you choose which one, whether it be for family photography, personal projects, commercial, let's say you're doing branding photography, those kind of things. You'll get an additional bonus month of group mentoring with moi. I promise I'm much more lucid and fluent during those times. And yeah, 1 year free DFP membership and listing, which is, I don't know, like 100 and something value. But what's really cool about that is you get to participate in our exhibits and all of that kind of stuff. I'm doing a really bad, should have started first. It's getting too late for me. I've been up too long. Sorry, y'all.
Sorry,
Okay.
Hindy's gonna take over, she said.
Yeah, Hindi, do you want to chime in here? I might unmute Hindi for a minute. So here's how you can check the website. We'll of course email it to you tomorrow with the replay as well. Yes, Hindi, let me unmute Hindi. Ask to unmute. Hindi, are you there? Oh, let me stop.
Yes, hi. You see me?
Hold on, let me spotlight you.
Okay.
Spotlight. I'm sorry. There we go. Thank you.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for this. For anyone on here who's like thinking of becoming a really incredibly fulfilled photographer, and who also wants to be successful, this course, like they did not ask me to speak, I swear.
No, I'm like shocked right now. I'm like,
I was like, I'm getting ready. I got a date I'm going on.
Go,
But like, I have learned so much in this course, like not just on like how to price, how to market, how to make a website. I've changed my website like so many times, how to brand, like not just the business side, but also how to make photos. Like I've only been doing photography for, I think I've only started once I came to this class maybe, but like family documentary.
You are
great.
But
I have grown so much. It gave me a community. Like you have access to like 3 hugely big successful people in this industry who have so much, they have so much to offer, but they're like, you see how personable like they've been with like, you know, just giving you the feedback. And also I've made some like really strong connections and like peers who have actually like we've met like on a weekly basis and like have helped each other with like, how do you organize your files? Like I learned how to like expose properly because that was like, I didn't know how to shoot for the highlights. And I learned that through this course. And now I underexpose all my photos. So yeah, I've learned so many things, like so many technical things that like if you don't have a community that's specific to documentary photography, because there's so many like people out there who are photographers, but they're all doing like fashion and modeling and, you know, headshot and whatever. And I never had a community to ask for like this specific niche. Even street photographers who are like photojournalists, they're not doing the business of earning money doing like candid photography. So like I really got the support in like all the specific detail. It's just like, and like, yeah, I made it in like in one session. Like I after taking this course, I was able to like bring in a lot of money. Yeah, so it's really fun. It
You
feels
quit
really
your
good.
job.
Yeah,
quit your
I
job.
wish I'm gonna get another one, but yeah.
After the date.
But yeah, I mean, it's also just been so much fun to connect with other people who are doing what I do and like who share the passion, you know?
Mhm.
So yeah, if
Thank
anyone
you,
has any
Lindsay.
questions, I mean, if you want to reach out to me, you can.
That's so nice. Thank you, Hindi. And
Yeah, thank you. This was an amazing class. Like I loved
Thanks,
every
Mel.
minute of it.
you're a great photographer, and it was also fun to see how your work evolved over our time together and since then. So proud of you. So proud of you, sweet
That was
baby
nice.
cheeks. Yeah, so moving on from all of that, I think, Jenna, is there anything else you want to add before we open up for Q&A real quick?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, so basically, don't forget your bonuses. You get a free contract. You get an extra month of mentoring with me. You get to work through mindset and money blocks. Oh, Hindy's looking for a date. She added her number. I'm just kidding.
You're so cute, Indy.
You are the
So
cutest.
charming.
But yeah, bonus. Sign up by Monday to get the bonuses. I'll send you an email with all those details. Moving on from there really quick, let's answer some questions. So I'm going to go for one that I saw here while we were talking. And then from there, if you want to chime in, you can write or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you. So one of the questions was, you talked about the advantage of a single website for wedding and documentary. Would the same hold true for business branding versus documentary on Instagram? I have the same website for both, but 2 different Instagram accounts. So Jenna kind of touched on this a minute ago in terms of if you feel better keeping them separate, then you can absolutely keep them separate. There's no complete right or wrong way to do things. You might hear from certain mentors that say, oh, no, you have to have all of these things separate, or you shouldn't show any personal stuff on your business, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all going to boil down to how you feel most comfortable in your business. For me, I go crazy if I have a bunch of Instagram accounts. I need everything in one place. I know I never post anyway, but beside the point, I know that if I have to run too many, then I'm avoiding it at all costs. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you know, it can show a really human side to you. So even if you're doing branding photography, people want to see that you can tell stories and you can connect. And so being able to show the different ways that you photograph is really great. And if you've honed into that, again, that voice, whether you're doing branding photography or family photography or wedding photography or street photography, you're still shooting from that gut place, that innate place, and the overarching umbrella or theme of your photography should be consistent once you've honed in on it and dug down. What do you think, Jenna?
Yeah, I think that if your voice is similar across the genres that you're shooting and your goals are similar, or their clients come from similar avenues, then they should be together. Because, like, for example, family and weddings, like your couples are going to get married and then they'll probably hire you for family photos. It's the easiest way to find family clients, right? Is to pull from your wedding clients. But if you are largely different and your goals are largely different and how you structure things is largely different, then I would separate your work. Right. So if you're like, I'm a candid wedding photographer and I do no posing, but I'm doing in studio portraits of, I don't know, burlesque performers, perhaps that's a separate site because you're trying to get people to find you in different ways. Right. And even then you could put it together if you wanted. It really just depends on whether your clients have a crossover or not, and your voice and how you feel about the work that goes into all of it, really.
Absolutely. Really quick, Paula had said here, my neighbor asked for a quote on just a quick family shoot. Her kids are 16 and 19, the one on the way, or the one away at college. I gave her a number that I refused to go below. She said maybe another time. She's very supportive of my business, but just won't pay for it. Meanwhile, they spend big dollars on professional sports and concerts and gobs on bourbon. I know they can afford it if they want to.
And just for reference, that was also during the website critique. Like it was,
okay.
It was relevant to what we were talking about at the time.
Yeah. So yeah, that's right. You can keep your boundaries. You can set boundaries in your business and what you'll go below or what you won't. One of the things that I set in place for my business is I never want friends to come to me because they think they're going to get a discount. I want them to come to me because they like my photos. So in specific, if a friend comes to me and is like, oh, I want you to photograph our family, I will give them my full price first as a quote. And if they still want to pay it, in that case, I'll consider giving a discount. But I want to make sure that they value what I'm doing. I don't want them to just be like, oh, we know Ash, she'll do it for us. It's no problem. You know, this is my job. Yeah, I love my job, but if I'm doing that for them, it's taking away from clients who could be paying me full price. So that's one way to think of it. The other thing is Paula, you said she supports your business. But you know, maybe that it doesn't necessarily need to be supported financially from your neighbor. Maybe it's just that word of mouth, you know, referring you to her friends or whatever it is. And that's also really lovely. You can consider maybe some type of referral discount if, let's say, she's bringing or they are bringing in more clients from you. If it's really beneficial with the value and things like that, then maybe it's worth it. So those are the types of things you have to weigh. Was there any other questions? Anna Banana, I don't even know if Anna's still on here. She probably was like, all right, you bitches are.
I've been watching. I don't think there are any other ones. Are
Okay.
there? But are there any with the course?
Or does anyone have, any questions? Love you too, Hindi. And SJ, I'm so proud of you for your $8,000 wedding. So exciting. It was lovely to see you too, Anna. Thank you, everyone. If anyone has questions about a course, the course, I can unmute you, hit up your hand, or
You can always reach out to us afterwards.
yeah,
too.
or reach out. Like I said, tomorrow I'll send out this replay. At some point, I need to sleep. I don't know if I told you all. I love you and miss you too, Lara. It's fun to see some of our students in here. I was not being able to scroll through all the faces, so holla. Hey, Derek.
Yeah. Well, this is fun.
Yeah.
Let's end it before you pass out.
Seriously, what
Get
is
down.
wrong? You know what it is every morning for the past, well, what are we on Wednesday? So this whole week I've gotten up at 5 a.m. To edit photos. That's how pathetic, and watch my Real Housewives. So, and that's all I've been doing for days and days and days because I'm so behind on all my sessions. But thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It
Thanks
was
for
fun hanging out. Sorry we went over our time, but we hope you enjoyed it. Megan, I'm looking for you. I'm obsessed with you.
Here's a hint. We're always go over time.
Yes. Great. Okay. Talk to you later, everyone.
Okay. Take care, everybody. That was fun.
Thanks. I'm just gonna let people slowly sign off. I want to look at one.
Just watch them go one at a time.
Yes. That's my plan. Bye, everyone. Just slowly.
Well, now all their portraits are coming up. There's Lavinia.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to look at. I'm like, I want to see
Yeah.
people's faces.
Yeah.
How do I? Okay, let's look. Gallery.
Okay. I do have to go pick up my child from school. So
Oh, that's no fun.
okay. I'm
Okay.
gonna head out.
All right,
Okay,
I'll talk
love
to
you.
everyone
Talk to you
later.
soon. Thanks so
Well,
much.
Bye, Rachel.